Hi.
Hi.
I'm Ryan.
Well, that'd make me Zach then, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm Taylor.
And this is our podcast with no name or just a very, very awkward edit right here.
Ooh.
Yet to be named podcasting project.
Yeah.
A podcast with no name. That's got to be taken.
Been through a desert with a
Listening to a podcast with a podcast on a podcast with no name.
Oh.
That okay? All right.
Awkward enough. Let's throw
Our,
it in the
our
hat.
condition of creating podcasts with untenably long names continues.
Yes. Honestly, I want to get kicked off of a platform for having too long of a name.
They're going to be like, please, 36 characters.
It's the
max.
Zachariah
How many
Eduardo
times
Marshall
have we been like,
Moffat
oh
character.
shit, we can't have the Twitter handle because it's too many characters?
Yeah.
Not enough times, I'm
No,
saying.
it's a fun game to play. So yeah, this is our podcast with slides.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Some
leading.
call it a presentation.
Yeah, no.
This
hi.
is our ripoff of World There's Your Problem. Hi,
Yeah,
gang.
Hi,
gang.
Love
Hi,
the work
gang.
you do.
Would not be here doing something like this if it wasn't for your podcast bringing so much joy to us. Not a plug, just a genuine thought.
Yep.
So I'm leading the episode today.
Yeah, this is Ryan's episode.
He's
So-
the conductor.
So we're gonna have a little bit of fun and maybe end up with a amateur, some sort of degree by the end
Oh,
of this.
I hope
Fantastic.
so. I'm here to learn. I have my learning cap on.
Pick
Use an
your
associates.
field. Our episode today is It Happened Upon Holiday Hill, which is either a really bad mystery novel.
Sounds like the name of a British rom-com.
Yeah.
Oh, it's happened on top of
Holiday Hill.
Starring Hugh Grant.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And Renee Zellweger.
Oh,
Is that-
you found the name before I did. Yeah.
Thank you. We're in the
The
same
one
zone.
with the face.
The one with the face. You know her.
Yeah.
Bridget Jones's diary. That's her.
Yeah,
Okay,
Bridget
okay.
Jones Notes app.
Bridget Jones's notes app. Tweet drafts. Yes.
It's a 21st century remake.
So yeah.
It happened upon Holiday Hill. Okay.
Let's get into it. Before we can talk about what exactly happened on Holiday Hill,
You're gonna use mouse. Okay.
we need to talk about what's a roller coaster.
Ooh. I'll buy
And not in a complete rip-off kind of way. What is a roller coaster? And a roller coaster can be many different things.
Is it a simulation of adrenaline
To
by way of gravity?
To quote who should have been our president in 2000, it's a series of tubes.
Nice.
Yeah. It
As you
is.
can see, a lot of tubes there.
There's a lot of tubes going on. More on this later. Hang
Also,
on.
the one in the upper right-hand corner does not strike me as a roller coaster.
Well,
That
okay.
looks like the machinery at a fishing
Are we
cannery
getting ahead
I
of
used to work
ourselves
at.
here?
We are not getting ahead of ourselves too much.
I want to talk about this OSHA violation in the top right corner.
Hey,
We'll get there. We're getting there, Zach.
It's got railings.
There's some rail. It looks like a set out of Alien. That's why I picked
It
this
does look
photo.
like that, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like behind the stage for any play.
It feels like something that like a bunch of fucking ninjas and like John Cena should rappel down to save the president's daughter.
Yeah.
It just straight up looks like the last thing.
Oh,
a
didn't you know the
salmon
Joker
sees.
fell right?
Yeah.
But
Yes.
I want to get a feeling of the room on
Okay,
this.
all right.
I personally love theme parks, roller coasters. I had the privilege as a kid to go to a lot of them just based on, hey, if Dad's working down by Federal Way, we had, which happened a lot as a kid. We had a Wild Ways Pass, so we'd go for a couple hours. Sister was in sports, so when we were in different areas of California, a Disneyland trip happened a bunch of times. And eventually,
When in Rome,
eventually you go to Disneyland enough that you're bored of it, and you're kind of like, let's check out Knott's Berry's Farm for the day. Let's check out a Six Flags. So I love theme parks. It wasn't really my choice. It wasn't like, oh, parents, please take me to this place. It was just sort of something that happened on a trip, and I got to experience quite a lot. And thank God, I loved the magnificent finger to God known as the Great American Scream Machine.
Finger to God.
Well, it is. When we think about theme parks,
Is that the one next to the monstrosity in the upper right-hand
the
corner?
Great American Scream Machine is just a name for all roller
It's the
coasters.
generalization.
Yeah, it's
America's pastime.
Yeah.
There has to be one with that name, right?
Oh,
Or like a
okay.
Six Flags Over Georgia or something like
Yeah.
that might have a
I
Great
feel like a
American
Georgia
Scream.
or a Texas.
I don't
might
know.
go
I
big
didn't
like
include
that.
the Great American Scream.
Yeah, I
It's
thought-
an actual roller coaster. I'm sorry.
Oh wait, did you
Ken.
not plan for 20,000 minutes of baseball to be
Oh, no,
discussed?
no. I prepared. I've had the pleasure to ride every single ride in this picture, and I assume you guys have in some form or fashion as well, because we've
Okay.
all ridden in the top left here, the Dragon Wheel.
Yeah,
It
it has
Wild
many
Ways,
names.
right?
That's a carnival staple.
Yeah.
Okay.
It shows up at your state fairs,
Sure.
sometimes your local fairs, and
Yeah.
I personally think from this image, given our full spectrum here of roller coasters,
Yeah.
this is the most purely you can see everything that's going on roller coaster.
Yeah.
It's a continuous circuit of a track.
Yeah, this is many children.
Mind you, all these are like not rules necessarily, but they are sort of guidelines because as you can see, you have one that's not a continuous circuit of a track.
It
Right.
is not. That was
That's a Knott's Berry
confounding
Farm,
me.
right?
That is a Six Flags. It is launched by Magnet. It has one of
Whoa.
those, so you go from 0 to 100. Superman's Flight is its name. When it was built, it was the
Jesus
tallest, fastest thing that
Man had ever created.
So it's just
basically.
the Whiplashinator.
yeah, I think you go 0 to 100 in like 6 point something seconds.
Jesus.
You go up about 400 feet and you experience about 5 seconds of 0G as you come back down.
Sick.
Wow.
That's the whole ride. I mean, it takes less than
So it is
20
just an
seconds.
adrenaline rush.
Yes.
That one is.
But the
for that.
Dragon Wheel is an adrenaline
No.
rush.
Well, isn't that like
Wait, what?
Here's the thing. I mean, as you can tell, Dragon Wheel has multiple cars. Dragon Wheel, being a continuous circuit, you need to find a way to propel this train along the way. Dragon Wheel actually uses car tires.
Oh, sick.
To grip
like
the
in Back
bottom.
to the Future.
Yeah, it grips the bottom of the train and propels it up this tiny little lift hill. And thanks to physics and gravity of the whole thing, it goes over a bump and back into the station. Sometimes, if the junkie operating the ride is being very nice or forgetful, you get to go on this experience a couple
Depends
times.
on how much of the cigarettes left.
It depends on how many tickets you throw at the man.
I think this one goes at least like 5 or 6 times around. Like that's
Yeah.
considered the ride.
But I have been on versions of them like at Evergreen State Fair and
Sure.
shit like that where, hey man, I know you waited 15 minutes to do this. You get in one loop.
Yeah.
You're getting 17
I mean, you're
seconds
getting a
of
little
freedom here.
beefed up version of that, where it's like a little bit longer. There is like a middle hill that gravity
Yeah.
barely takes you over, and then you wrap around back to the
To
the man.
talk about the anatomy of a roller coaster, almost, we need to talk about where you sit in a roller coaster vastly differs your experience.
Yeah.
If you are in the front, you typically do not feel the vast acceleration of a drop because you typically have the whole weight of the back of the train catching up and eventually pushing you, like in your first drop and stuff like that. If you sit in the back, you are like
You're feeling the full
well,
pressure
like
of
like
all.
a whip crack.
Yeah.
Anytime you're going over a bump, you're getting a little bit more airtime than you would anywhere else in the rest of the ride. Just a fun fact, and as you can see, with the Dragon Wheel and the junkie operating it here, good old Meth Head Mike has set everybody in the front so they have the safest, most
Okay.
tame experience.
Well,
in the
yeah,
thing.
because the Dragon Wheel is usually a kid's first roller coaster
Oh,
experience.
yeah, I don't think it goes more than like 9 miles per hour tops.
Well, and I think the height requirement, because of how tame of a ride it is,
Yeah.
usually is like, hey, if you have, say you're the average American family with 2.4 kids, while you can take the 1.4 of them on some of the more exciting roller coasters,
Oh, yeah.
you've got the one that can't meet the height
Well,
requirements.
typically at your smaller fairs, this is the roller coaster, unless your fairgrounds like Puyallup has a
That's a
built-in.
real rinky-dink fair, man.
Hey man, I'm talking Stanwood. This is where we all grew up. I mean,
Stanwood at least had like
The zipper.
yeah, I mean it had more.
it has other
And
thrill
the
rides,
Gravitron.
but as for the roller coaster, that's it.
What would you consider the Ring of Fire a roller coaster?
I technically
What?
would because it is a
Yeah.
It's following these criteria that.
Oh,
aren't
is the Ring of
set in
Fire the
stone.
vertical one? That's
The one that's a big
It,
circle.
it just goes
kinda-
up and does a loop.
Yeah.
okay.
You're in some sort of ride vehicle. You're being pushed along a track. Even rides that we would consider more of your typical track rides in the roller coaster family. And as we go further in this, the roller coaster family gets wider. This is more of a bush than a tree.
Okay.
In a way. But as you can see, roller coasters can be many different things. You can, of course, have no continuous circuit. You could have no lift hill or tire pushing you along the way. As we can see
No
with
chain drive.
with our bottom right here, our Pacific Northwest staple, the Wild Thing at Wild Waves.
Nice.
You have your typical lift hill that pulls the car up, and then it goes around, does some loop-de-loops, switches around, and you're back within, yes, you waited in line for 47 minutes.
Yeah.
But, hey, after 57 seconds of riding this son of a bitch, you're done, and you've kind of experienced what it has to offer. Exciting or not. Things like the Dragon Wheel, and we'll get to this blue guy in the top middle here, and Wild Thing have a very small footprint. And to think of like the amount of space you need to build this finger to God, basically, because you're building a big bastard no matter what. Even your Dragon Wheel comes in, that's a trailer and a half worth of shit that you have to lay out, even for a small circuit, let alone something that's going to stand a couple years and possibly be taken down, sold somewhere. Another one with a small footprint, we got Flashback from Magic Mountain. These guys are about a quarter mile apart from each other in the park. Flashback, could not find a good picture of it, but I did have the pleasure of riding this son of a bitch like a year before it closed down.
It's no longer...
I think it permanently closed in 2003.
Oh, wow.
This guy was just a small one that goes up, and then, you just do these turns, you go to the other side, you do another switchback turn. This is the roughest ride I've ever ridden in my life.
Yeah?
I've ridden wooden roller coasters. I've ridden junky amusement park rides. I've ridden rides that are supposed to, shake you, like just to go Disney, like your Indiana Jones and stuff like that. That's supposed to kind of rock you, jerk you around. I was bruised. There are pictures of me on this Six Flag trip, and you can tell when before and after I rode Flashback, because just from that harness and just like sides of the head, ears bouncing up and back and forth. Like, typically your ride shouldn't operate that way.
I think that's what I go for is to be like,
you are
feeling like I'm going to die.
Safe fun.
So they went too tight with the angles on that thing.
So
They're
looking at that, it's too much force.
At the time I rode it, it was a 20-year-old piece of shit that was in poor maintenance and not a popular ride, so nobody really cared. It was on the outdoors, so,
What is the life of a roller coaster?
The life of a roller coaster, most nowadays are either specialty built for parks. There's lots of really cool European parks and like parks out in Dubai and shit like that have Las Vegas especially in the past 30 years. But basically now, if you're going to get a big roller coaster contract, and you're one of the few companies that do that shit still, that haven't absorbed one another, you build a ride specifically for somebody.
Okay.
But
it's not to be disassembled.
But there are companies like Aero, who... Aerodynamics is a really cute...
AERO?
No, like
ARROW?
Can I hear it in a sentence? But yeah, Aero made both Flashback here in blue and the Wild Thing, and as you can see, they have similar, almost identical how the track is laid out, because they go into their workshop, they go into their factory, and basically pre-make, hey, we're going to pre-make a straight piece, we're going to pre-make a turn, we're going to do this and that, and they kind of piece things together like Lego. This is a roller coaster that was specially built down here in the bottom left for its environment, and we're getting to you. We're getting to this foundry-looking motherfucker.
Yeah, we better.
This is Tremors at Silverwood.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would feel ashamed if I did not have a wooden roller coaster on this small spectrum of roller coasters here.
Yeah.
Did this
But you're saying this is small. I mean, this one looks gigantic.
Tremors is huge and sprawls all around the park, and this is something where it's a much larger footprint.
Okay.
You have to dedicate a lot of the land that you're still paying for most of the time. On top of building this magnificent wooden rickety ass like structure, and just the spectacle and size of it, you can see it all throughout the park. It's going to draw people to it, and that'll draw people. We all played a Roller Coaster
Yeah,
Tycoon. It'll draw
absolutely.
people to the food and to the games and shit on that side of the park. Tremors is a fucking wild ride, but it is specially built. It wasn't a Tremors is great. You get some nice little tunnels that go underneath, you know.
What? It goes underground?
It goes about 15 feet underground, under almost the ride queue.
Cool.
So as you're waiting in line, you have a roller coaster almost screaming into the line and then out the other side.
That's
and
pretty
it's
tight.
like, you know, it gives you some excitement while you're waiting to ride this. It's a fairly long roller coaster. It's like
This
two
looks like
and
a
a
lot.
half minutes.
This looks like a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here.
Yep.
And as you can see with wood construction, you need a lot more materials.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Especially with a lot of these being based in the West Coast, you also need extra materials for earthquake safety and stuff like
Yeah.
that, be it steel or wood. But wood, it is a lot more noticeable. But then we get to something like here in the top right.
There you are, you beautiful bastard.
And we have a lot of our other roller coasters being basically the bare bones. The hot rod of roller coasters in a
Yeah.
sense, where it's
We've got some sleek,
an
sexy
engine
boys.
block on some axles. This is a themed roller coaster on the top right. This is Space Mountain with the lights on.
That's what I figured.
Oh my
yeah.
god. No.
Yeah.
No.
I hate to ruin it.
You're ruining the magic.
Space Mountain is not a particularly fast roller coaster. It has no inversions, no wild whips and turns, not even a fucking dragon in the front. But what it has is a fucking light show. It has a light show, you know, that you're kind of screaming around in. And it's over, as you can tell, it's enclosed in a building.
It's
Yeah.
a roller coaster of the mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
Basically, it's very dark, and you zoom past lights you see what Disney wants you to see.
Yeah.
Yes.
In that
And
ride.
obviously they don't
Your
want you
stupid
to see
human
that
brain
you are...
can't conceive of what's actually going on.
And I think
I
this
see the
is-
rail right there.
This
yeah.
is a forced perspective of the shot, I believe, but this looks way too close for comfort.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
of having a train scream by this with, hey, if little Johnny,
Uh-huh.
he's big for his age, but he puts his hands up, he's losing one of his hands.
Yeah. No, that's why Space Mountain's one of those roller coasters tell you, like, keep your everything in the fucking car.
Yeah.
Hands and feet.
Hands, feet. Don't be 7
your
feet
dicks in
tall.
here.
Yeah.
Could you not be 7 feet
Dick's
tall?
in for Harambe.
Dick's in for Space Mountain.
So...
Yeah, the only reason I kind of had a inclination that was Space Mountain is because I've been on Space Mountain before when shit got stuck.
Oh, okay. I've only been in the ride queue when shit got stuck.
Oh.
Do we like roller coasters, gang? Did we go
Yeah,
over
oh, yeah,
this?
yeah.
I mean, you know, like, y'all have any good history of roller coasters? Y'all got a favorite roller coaster like this son of a bitch
The
over
one
here?
one that was at Wild Waves may still be there. It's something Native
Timberhawk?
American. Timberhawk, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the old Timberhawk.
I almost
Yeah.
included a picture of
good one.
Timberhawk, and then
I
I
went
remembered
to-
Tremors, and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
no,
that's good, that's good.
Beautiful
Yeah.
picture. It's one of my favorite
I
rides
remember
ever.
for the only time I've been to Wild Waves, I got there right when they opened, so the queue for Tomahawk was nothing. So there was a few times I got to sit in there.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, "Well, no one's coming. You guys want to go again?" Sick. And we just ran that thing for like 10 times straight.
Damn. It's a fun ride.
It's a fun ride. I mean, it's a short one, but it is like all made out of wood, and it's got its thrills to it.
It's got some good drops.
It does the crank up to the top, and
Yeah.
that has its
Oh,
thrill
that's
to
another
it.
thing. Not only are roller coasters visually impressive
Uh-huh.
from a distance, you can hear
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
throughout everything, because you're always going to hear that clink, 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 or just wheels on
Mm-hmm.
steel.
Yeah, whizzing by stuff.
You know, it sounds like, as it should, a miniature freight train in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun train.
It's a fun train. All trains are fun, Taylor.
No, it's not. Having taken the sounder, they're not all fun.
all trains except the sounder are fun. So yeah, these are all fairly modern roller coasters that have been made in the past 30 years or
Okay.
so.
Are we gonna take a trip down?
So yeah, so next slide we are going to discuss a brief 400-year history of roller coasters. And we are going to go...
This just looks like amusement parks.
But we got a little bit of road ahead of us here, boyos.
Mm-hmm.
We start pre-1600s in
Wow.
Russia. We have Igor and Igor's wife
Mm-hmm.
and Igor Jr. here, and they found that they can make and their dog.
And you got everyone on the ride. Sergey, and
Sergey,
Sergey.
Sergey, and other Igor up here. Basically, eventually somebody discovered, hey, I can charge the people. Yes, we see kids sledding down hills. Mm-hmm. But if I were to make a sled with all this extra wood and like this, shed that's falling down in my backyard, I can charge people for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's even something even simpler than sledding down a hill. It's called rolling down a hill.
Well, here's the thing.
The first amusement park ride.
The wheel has been invented. But no, at this time, Taylor, this is primarily sleds and not used in the summer.
Mm. Oh, okay.
We don't start seeing mild winter of these. They're called Russian mountains, by the way, is what the term came as they kind of spread. For the ride. As they spread throughout Europe over about 100, 200 years.
Okay.
By the time we get to Catherine the Great, which is about 1790s, we have the first...
she's so great.
Because a horse sat on her.
Nice. Okay. That's pretty great. And she lived to tell the tale?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
Or somebody lived to tell the tale. I think the horse did. We see within that time, these structures are getting huge. And
this looks bitchin'. That's second photo there.
Early amusement parks. They're in city pavilions. They're easy to set up. And also can be run year-round because you start putting, as
oil,
you can
baby
see
oil.
Here,
oh.
Is that Paris?
I see French flag. I see those coward flags.
This may have been France. I don't know exactly. I know this is Russia just because of architecture and nobody touches a cow like that.
Well, I mean, if you look in the background of that picture, you do see somewhat look to be palaces or governmental structures.
Yeah.
That we ripped off here in America.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was my inclination. If I had to take a wild stab at where this would be, this is in that area of Paris where like the Eiffel Tower is now. Like there's this big sort of Central Park-esque, like green space
big
in the middle of Paris,
or promenade, whatever you, however much money's thrown at it. You can pick whatever name you want.
Yeah.
Parking lot.
Yeah, please, more parking lots, everyone.
But as we can see, rides like this could be sledded on, in winter or in a milder winter. In summer, you can strap some wheels, and this is I'm surprised this picture did not have more of it, but we have wheels on seats.
Okay.
So you have Guy Fawkes and some children.
You have Guy Fawkes. You have his real doll and his wife.
His other real doll.
His other real doll.
And then you have someone who's about to be beheaded.
We have brave Susan over here who's standing up, practically saluting this ride. And these are, just flat pieces of wood. You're riding on a thing. There's no track to keep your thing from bouncing off the walls. It is a genuine thrill ride.
Yeah.
And something that
because death is knocking. Death is chasing you. That's what
look
makes
at the
you go so
background.
fast.
We have what looks to be
he's
Jim and the boys.
Gosh.
And Jim's
he's riding a Segway.
He's pointing out west like he wants to conquer it.
And also, if we could return to like center left. This one, that ride seems to me like it will run out of steam at some point. And
I don't know, man. Hills are fun.
Yeah, but it seems like you're not going to make it to the base of the next hill before you've like run out of momentum.
Oh, absolutely.
Are we talking bottom left?
No, this is
no, middle left.
Yeah, that seems like a one use thing. Your goal. Those are two different tracks.
Yeah.
It's not crossing over. I think.
Yeah.
Those are two different.
You're on your alpine slide and you go down and then. And
boom! Now you're at the other end, and then you walk up the staircase.
You have to fight the four fucking Ivans, and Francois over here to as they're trying to take away your sled.
Well, it just seems very dangerous. Far
people
tower,
crossing,
people screaming in, and then near tower, people screaming out, and then it seems like you could have some head-on collisions of people.
Absolutely.
But see, much like a highway, you have a median here where
you have a very
Jean-Luc and all of his sister wives are just playing in the middle in the danger zone.
That's called the pit.
I think. No, because see, this track kind of extends about I'd say 40 feet, 30 feet.
Right, I'm perceiving that
grass area.
Yeah, it's a grass area in between. You have, hey, if Ivan was making money off of one hill,
You're
why
damn
not
right.
two?
You're damn right.
One
you
that
make two.
disperses
So-
the crowd, so now you have two different groups of people
And
who
then
can
once
buy
you
your
get
hot
off,
dogs.
once you get off of your slide, you can then go onto the other
Another
slide.
yeah.
It's perfect.
I guess I should say, please point out to me where you can see these are two different hills. Because this just looks like the world's widest fucking half pipe.
Oh
to me.
no.
Oh, Taylor.
No,
Taylor,
they're on two different-
See,
there's a fenced off, there's a fence
The
there,
hill
but-
on the right here ends
Yeah.
here
Uh-huh.
and goes into this crowd, and then about 30 feet over, this hill goes up and ends 30 feet over here.
Yeah.
See, what I was seeing was just a very big half pipe where people would be screaming at each other.
That would be pretty fun.
Yeah,
That
that's
would-
what skateboarding is.
That's what I had interpreted.
Welcome
as.
to 1800s jackass.
Yeah,
here.
welcome.
Yeah.
They invented the X Games.
These rides also exist today in the form of the big ass slide at fairs and carnivals.
Yes.
The Alpine slide.
Yeah, you get a burlap sack or you get a mat or something.
You might
or,
catch air if you go down
Or
on the
you
right
know,
way.
if the meth head's really cool, he's
Yeah.
got some McDonald's trays he can go down
Yeah.
in.
Or if my parents get drunk enough, our staircase at our house on Commando Island.
yeah.
And sleeping
Hell yeah.
bags become an Alpine slide.
Hell yeah.
Taylor made a roller coaster. By this point, we reach 1800s to about, we're looking like 1850 to 1900 here with the Switchback Railway. And this
Some
is
World's Fair attractions.
this is Coney Island. It was, I think I don't think an early version was at the Chicago World's Fair. You had a Ferris
That had the
wheel.
Ferris wheel,
You had
yeah.
a Ferris wheel there, and you might have had something like a Russian slide, but you didn't necessarily have a track. We're getting closer to a roller coaster, guys.
Okay.
We have
We
a
found out
track.
you can utilize gravity.
We have a track. We have a piece of wood that you and your boys can sit on.
Mm-hmm.
The thing only goes about 9 to 10 miles per hour.
Okay.
Which, if you're just an open air human being going that fast,
Yeah.
does feel pretty thrilling.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to tell from this diagram. This both of these are at Coney Island.
Okay.
I
Do
do
they
not
cross
know.
over?
I do not know if they are the same depiction of the ride or if one had been remade. Because this is
I wanted to say those are
You're-
two different.
your bottom middle picture here is from a film in 1898, and I sent that.
Yeah,
to
you sent that to me.
It does strike me because, like, you see in the diagram or the
You see like
picture,
a beach.
well, you can see like the two tracks, so you have like double your money.
Well, that's the thing. We're going to go to the diagram here, and the diagram kind of lies a little bit because you could make a cheap switchback railway by having one tower with the thing that goes down, and then you get a bunch of Irishmen
Yeah.
to push the cart back. It gets lifted up by some Italians, put back on the track, and then they can ride it down again.
Then it gets a strong push from a Polishman.
Yeah. Or you can have, as we see in both of these images, you have a way of the train, we're going to go in the bottom image here, going up the track and then gets pushed over by Big Igor here. Polish Steve pushes the car over,
Yeah.
and then people can ride it back. And the funny thing is, since there is no power, we aren't in the age of the lift hill yet. We don't have our rubber wheels pushing the dragon wheel along. So what we have are four dudes who are at the end of the track who run out to catch the car as it slows down.
They're
And
the brakes.
They are they are the brakes and the lift hill. They push it the rest of the way to the big guy who switches it over. Hence, Switchback Railway.
Okay.
This is kind of your first, in a way, modular roller coaster. Because once this design was patented, these things popped up around the East Coast.
Do you know if there was like a company that would sell you like, hey, here is the kit. Like, we will send you all of the lumber.
It was basically, it's your era of, if you had a wealthy person, a venture capitalist.
Somebody with
kinda,
a big mustache. Yeah.
And basically had some ins with mining companies that had gone under. You can get track, you can get wheels, you can get materials, and you basically
Probably get lumber.
You repurpose that into a ride. You would have versions of these that eventually they figured out as we move on to the right. This is only about 2 or 3 years later. Your
kidding.
roller coaster technology has landed on the moon. We have a loop in a wooden roller coaster. We're talking 1900, 1902.
What was it about that era that everyone had to have an umbrella?
I don't know. Everyone's on Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cheap parasols. It's like shade. you have shade that you can bring with you. 'Cause that's your way of staying
so-
cold.
But it's also
So
it's a
crazy.
status symbol.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
something to carry around. But as we can see, technology, or at least ideas and application of this thrill ride reach a point where we can have a lift hill now.
Cool.
We can have a chain that hooks up on the bottom of the car. It can pull it up to the top, and we can have a continuous circuit that brings the thing back, and we don't have to pay the Polish guy, 3 Irish guys, and somebody else to catch the car.
So you're telling this is taking jobs?
It's taking jobs. These were called scenic railways. A lot of parks like your Coney Island would have one that would kind of circumnavigate around the park and kind of go over shops and stuff.
Okay.
A large footprint, fit it wherever it can be fit around the
Okay.
park, as opposed to your relatively small footprints of your Switchback and this, where it can kind of be
Pretty straight.
it can be crammed up against the fence anywhere, sort of a deal.
Okay.
Within a couple more years, you have things like the Cyclone, another Coney Island staple
And
here.
what kind of era are we talking? Like 18?
We're talking. This is 1920s. At
That's
this point.
1920s.
Yes, and we have the Cyclone. It is faster than ever.
Oh my God.
That's fucking.
No one can catch it.
I don't know if that's a good or bad thing at this point.
Also, but ironically, named it the Cyclone in an area that's regularly hit by hurricanes.
But as you can see, we're starting to fuck around more with steel construction.
Okay.
In this thing. Getting more people involved for your materials. You're getting sort of a pizzazz and flair to it. Mind you, not all roller coasters of this era were like a hot rod of roller coasters.
Okay.
You did have some that were like, oh, we're going to go around a wooden castle. Or, oh, we painted up some scenes as you go by on your scenic railway.
Okay.
Sort of a deal. There's even one in Switzerland that did this that was about kind of going around a mountain and, there's an abominable snowman. There's,
Okay.
So
themed.
that's where the Italians, Irish, and Polish then went to.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to dress up in a cartoon.
Yes.
You have to dress up in a costume and almost get fucking run over.
When in a name that did not catch on because roller coaster is first emitted as a name as early as this Catherine the Great. Once you had a thing that could roll on wheels and coast, roller coaster kind of became
Sure.
the colloquial term for
Sure, there was
these.
a bunch of regional names for
Oh
them
yeah,
as well.
one of them that
That's
did
called the
not
Zappa-to-do.
gravity pleasure.
Oh.
Yikes.
We're gonna go ride the gravity pleasure. Was a
That
name
doesn't
that
roll
did,
off the tongue
it
very
did
well.
not it did not catch on in America, but there was a brief point in time where that was the new hot name to call these. To continue along because this is the densest part of this whole thing. Is I wanted to get this history.
Is
out.
this the
Just-
uphill? Is this the click, 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 click?
Yeah,
click,
this is
click,
the-
click, click,
Oh.
click.
Yeah, we're on the chain drive right now.
All right.
Here in the 1940s and 50s, we had something called a steel mouse coaster. And while looking very unimpressive with just something zigging back and forth, you've almost fully moved away from wood construction. You started to use different type of bar steel for your track, so you can get some weirdly smooth curves and things that, you weren't limited to how the metal can bend and how the car can operate. You can
We
kind
got
of
better machines for bending metal now.
you can kind of go a little bit more all out. But that all changed in 1937 when this son of a bitch, as we see portrayed by Johnny Depp, young Johnny Depp over
Oh my
here on
gosh.
the left, and Robert Redford here on the right. So Walt Disney, huh? This episode is not about Walt Disney, nor is it. Well, we're gonna get into Disneyland. Don't get me wrong.
Our greatest chili enthucust.
This
Yes.
man loved mixing cans of chili.
Yeah, apparently.
Wait, sorry.
Apparently
I thought that
Wal-
was a cryogenic
No.
joke.
No. Not chili. CHILLY.
Yeah, no, like
I'm talking
the food.
CHILI.
He would have like a can of one
Hormel.
brand and a can of a different one,
Dinty
and would mix them
what?
together, and that was his favorite meal.
And that son of a bitch, if he was like traveling internationally and say you were hosting Walter Disney at
He'd be
your
like,
home,
"Oh, thanks for inviting
and they're
me
like,
out to
"Hey
dinner."
man, we we made this dinner for you. He's like, great, but I have 2 cans of chili. Could you give me a pot to
This
mix them
can't
and heat
be
them up
real.
in?
Is this a story that's been told by multiple different people, or is this like one article that's come out?
This is sort of like what really happened, kind of got a mythos and a little bit around it, where yes, we are painting in very broad brushstrokes here. As much as, allegedly would carry around 2 cans of chili, as much as he allegedly called the little animated girl in the Jungle Book sexy. People, yes,
believe what you want to believe.
Believe what you want to believe. I mean, you can believe the people who were in the room, or you can
Also, the Joseph Stalin of cigarettes. He's always giving like this 2-fingered salute when he's pointing out at everything. That's because Walt Disney was a prolific smoker.
So this is what it'd be when he's smoking.
All the pictures you see of Disney. He's not, because they've airbrushed the cigarette out of his hand.
They've
but
early
he's
photoshopped out cigarettes.
Oh my god!
So just like any time there was, let's call it an administration change in Soviet Russia underneath Joseph Stalin,
they'd airbrush the guy who suddenly
just didn't exist
yeah,
anymore.
he never existed. Like, and if you say you do, you're going to the Google. You didn't exist either.
Yeah, you're getting airbrushed next. But no, Disney did that to keep up his wholesome image. He airbrushed all the cigarettes out of his pictures.
He did, or did the estate of Walt Disney get ahead of it?
No,
I want to know. Was he like the one, like,
in
oh, do I look
in advertising that he's in your 40s, 50s, and everything? They would airbrush out the cigarettes
before it was published.
But Walt Disney, animator, basically found a way to reinvent Hollywood almost 30 years after Hollywood had established itself. He set up his own company in Burbank, hired on a bunch of animator, people, basically gave them schooling and a job, and went like, you work for me now, let's make a movie, let's make these experiences. And as he made money throughout his career, he set his sights on theme parks, because while Disneyland came about in 1955, you have things like Knott's Berry Farm and other...
And that's not Disney.
That's not Disney. It's, it's just an amusement park. It started as like a pie restaurant that they just started throwing rides on the back.
Well, they get sponsored by like a fruit company out in California, right?
It was that
Yeah,
part. Knott's Berry was the farm that the pie restaurant was on, and then they went, oh, our crop wasn't too great this year.
We gotta keep the people coming, though.
What if we bought a merry-go-round? We could throw a merry-go-round.
Man, that is so
back.
old school California. That is such an old school California thing.
That is how a lot of these amusement parks start.
Sure.
In a way.
Or like it's kind of that ingenuity that American capitalism has to breed into people, so they don't fucking starve and die. It's like we had a fucked corn harvest this year. We got a bunch of
but we can charge a nickel for everybody who rides. I don't know, like
a cart, or you can just fucking knock down a good chunk of corn and create yourself a corn maze. And attract people to that, and then probably make just about as much as you would selling that bulk corn to the local markets.
Absolutely.
We got to keep that tourism money, though. So.
So Walt Disney decides, I'm gonna make my own theme park. He buys land
after he's already established Disney the cartoons,
yes,
right? Because he's not just whole hogging throwing money at a huge idea.
He had
to work getting Disney animations going, right?
By the time Disneyland...
Don't mean the yada yada over Disney.
No, by the time Disneyland came out, he had...
Almost 30 years.
8 or 9 movies. Well, yes, 30 years of shorts. He was commissioned by United States government for some World War II, both propaganda and military training videos.
Cool.
He's getting himself out there and he's making money.
Some of it being...
Yeah, some of it's...
propaganda. Sometimes those wolves weren't always wolves.
Look at that smile. Would this smile hate the Jews?
Yes. He's an American industrialist.
Look at this smile. No. So
it's like as if what if Quentin Tarantino made his own like theme park?
If he decided to open a cruise line.
Oh or cruise line would be good.
Just to go way out there.
What?
Yeah.
There's Disney Cruise
Oh
Line.
yeah.
Disney owns everything now.
Yeah, Disney owns Star Wars.
I mean, it's the greatest. He was the greatest exploiter and then menace to public domain law as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, is that? Are we gonna talk about that?
I mean, for whatever positive things I'm saying, I fully believe this person is the fucking devil, and thank God he did not get into politics and instead decided to make rides with a mouse and
Oh, well, he's way
get
more
to hang out
powerful
around as much children allegedly as he'd like to.
Oh,
You know, you just throw
winkety
allegedly
wink.
at the
Yeah,
end of every one of my sentences here, just from here on out, because we are gonna go into some speculation territory. So Disneyland opens in 1955. Terrible disaster.
Oh, really?
Well, disastrous opening day, but the lead up to Disneyland is something that is really wild in a historical aspect, because you have your infrastructure with your freeways and everything are starting to get built around California, your I-5 and everything else, as well as modernizing and updating your old highways into, freeways that would basically be the same sort of layout and structure today. 2 lanes were added to whatever major interstate highway
They go to Burbank.
well, he wanted to build it in Burbank, but then decided.
Oh,
That's way too expensive.
Anaheim's
Yeah.
more for me.
But
Well,
he
yeah,
did. He
you can go
was
buy a
looking at
bog in
land in
Anaheim.
Burbank, but then realized he could get about 3 times as much land in Anaheim for the same price, and went, well, I'm gonna build a bigger park. I'm gonna build a park for all my trains, and this rat I love. and nobody can
goddamn
stop
right
me.
I'm so fond of.
But no, this is not an episode about the opening day of Disneyland, but absolute mess. ABC Studios, which was not owned by Disney. And,
Oh, it wasn't at the time?
No, they had a partnership, much like how Disney had partnership with restaurants and other brands to bring things into the park. Absolute shit show, and
you.
everything's caught on camera. It is kind of weird being. I've been to Disneyland enough times, and I share my dad's enthusiasm, where it's like Disney history is fun, but I don't see it for the glitz and glamour. I see it as real people trying to make an absolute weird thing work.
Oh yeah.
And I can appreciate the successes and and failures of it all the same. They were pouring asphalt the day they opened Disneyland.
Oh, cool.
So you have photos and video of people tripping and losing their shoes in asphalt in the street.
That is so cool.
Because the surface is just very soft.
Yeah.
Because it's recently poured, and you're also in the fucking Anaheim sun.
Yeah.
There's
So
video
it's not gonna
of
cure.
Probably August 15th or something like that.
Yeah.
dead
Do
of
we have
summer.
a specific date? Do you know?
that it opened. I believe July 17th.
So it's 6 million degrees on the
Oh,
ground.
it's 101 degrees that day.
Yeah.
I know that fact.
Yeah.
Fucking Anaheim, dude. I hate that
But
city
no, you
so
have
much.
they were gonna have a bunch of celebrities, actors, politicians, all show up, in kind of intervals throughout the day. Everybody shows up at once.
Of course.
People with fake tickets coming in because
course.
you have parents effectively trying to crowd surf their kids forward in line to get on rides. And mind you, there's not that many rides there. We're gonna get to a picture of Disney around this time, and it's not the Disney we know. It's like, hey, you want to go ride a Jungle Cruise, or do you want to go ride a carousel, or do you want to go?
You want to go talk to the rat?
Oh fuck! The Dapper Dans are their bikes halfway buried into the fucking Main Street USA.
We have our very racist Mexican restaurant, or you could go eat at a pirate ship where everything's tuna based.
Yep, the Star-Kissed Tuna Company.
Yeah.
I would love to do an episode.
Or no,
on
it's Chicken
opening
of the
day.
Sea. Chicken of the Sea.
We may do one on opening day. I don't mean to keep on spinning wheels on it. But one of the big complaints compared to other theme parks at the time, even within a year or two of opening of Disneyland, I mean, other than bugs, failures, and everything else.
Just remember, it is a bog, so there's mosquitoes everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah. You don't have any thrill rides at a Disneyland.
It's all safe rides.
It's all safe rides, family rides. People are there and they understand, even at that time, they're there for the experience, for the showmanship, I guess. You aren't there for how wild and intense the teacups are. You're there for the music, the atmosphere.
Was there was there day one cast members of like? Did you have a
Oh.
Snow White walking around available for photos?
Now, mind you, like everything up until Sleeping Beauty, I believe, was released by then. So yes, Disney princesses did exist. Were they walk around characters at the park on day one? I do not believe so.
Okay.
That'd be such an interesting long shot. That like if that's something that happened day one and it's still something that happens today. Like what a weird thing that
There's a lot of weird, just weird idiosyncrasies of the park and things that they've done since 1955 and only really partially modernize it, or at least modernize. They put a new coat of paint on the side that you, the viewing public, see.
yeah.
But
they've
then
redone
if you were to
certain-
go into like the break rooms, they're right out of like a 1971 remodel.
oh my
And
gosh.
that's when they gave up on those.
Really?
So Walt's looking for a thrill
Oops,
ride.
I-
We're going there. Walt's taking a European
he
trip.
had a Toblerone.
He had a Toblerone. He's on a European trip. He's in the Swiss Alps.
He brought a month's supply of chili.
This is about yes. He's also imagine him with the Sherpa with 800 cans of
Southwest lets you check in 2 bags for free. One of those was full of chili.
So he doesn't even see the mountain Matterhorn, which is a mountain kind of on the border of Switzerland and Italy. It is
Part of the Alps, yeah.
It's part of the Alps down there. Well, I mean, Alps kind of stretch around, kind of a larger area. It was a mountain that was famously hard to climb, and it's not hard to see why we have. This is a time before pixels on the left in a
Looks like a lot
photo.
of rocks.
We
Very sheer.
we have
Looks
we,
like a lot of sharp edge rocks.
we got a woodblock print. We got these. All these are postcards from around the time that Walt would have went there.
Okay.
So as he's probably in his Swiss hotel room, eating a can or two of chili. He probably, it's one of those things where the story goes, he stumbles upon a postcard of Matterhorn and immediately goes, I want that in my park. That we need something that looks like that. Not just any mountain, that fucking mountain in my park. Because that's the amount of crazy this guy is. So he takes the postcard, he writes on a note back to his, it wasn't called
He just mails
Imagineers.
it to himself.
Yeah.
He mails it
He
to himself,
John
to his
Teshes it.
engineering guys,
Sure.
basically. And they're like, how can we make this as soon as possible? So, within a year,
Holy fuck.
work starts on the Matterhorn in this general area of the park. This is Disneyland pre-1959. As you can see, we got a Jungle Cruise. We got where your Mark Twain riverboat is.
Oh, that's right. Jungle Cruise is a real thing.
Yeah.
We're also the Fantasia show takes place over that like water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nowadays, yes. You have your little bit of Fantasyland. You got your little bit of Tomorrowland in your Main Street USA. You also have this weird hill. And this is a mound of dirt that was about 60 feet tall.
Okay.
It was called Holiday Hill. I said
Okay.
the thing.
You said the thing.
It's basically made up of whatever they dug up to make the moat in the around the castle, as well as your Jungle
Where's
Cruise ride.
Castle's dead center?
Castle's right above this circle here.
Yeah.
Right there. Oh, okay.
And
Yeah,
as you can
Disney
see-
takes you right to the castle, then
Uh-huh.
branches
And then-
out
And
from
then
there.
and then let you go do
Yeah.
your deal. Yeah.
Spider legs out.
Yeah.
Holiday Hill here had a reputation as sort of, and you can kind of tell because you have your Chicken of the Sea restaurant up here.
Hey, I see the pirate flags.
If you wanted to, you spent all day on that hot curing asphalt, but you wanted to just eat a bunch of hot tuna
It sounds
pie.
great, hot tuna.
I love hot tuna.
Hot tuna pie.
You have some, your Fantasyland. I think this is King Arthur's Carousel right here. You also have little, boat rides off to here, but you kind of have this ugly mound of dirt that just is running a sky tram through it.
Hey, they shoved some trees in there.
Yeah, eventually,
tried.
from 1955 when it opened till 1958 when they started making Matterhorn. They added some trees, a little path, a bench. Now, it's unconfirmed. Like, I have not read in. Anyone who says they're a former Disney security guard is one lying on the internet. And two, you don't get many reports from this early 50s era. But apparently it was called a lover's lane of Disneyland, which
Oh?
means you
That's where you
definite-
went and did your necking?
Yeah, that's where people would go off the beaten path, and they get a big whiff of a hot tuna pie, and then go off the beaten path.
Oh my god.
And then decide to fucking
Go to Smoochville.
Yeah, basically they're in the Bone Dome here.
the boat.
The Bone Dome. And then afterwards, you can have some Doritos as a
Yes.
fun postcoital snack.
We're getting
sorry.
there. We're getting there.
Yeah, Doritos are an invention of Disneyland as well.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they found a way to reuse old tortillas.
Oh Jesus. So Doritos is a Disney brand?
One of the other restaurants, I believe
we'll
it
get to it.
It's not a big thing, but yeah, it's one of the other restaurants.
was owned by Frito.
Yep. And then they basically discovered how to make the Dorito there, and then by the time of the 60s, Dorito is the top-selling chip brand in America.
Yep. Because they made something called the Taco, which is a primordial ancestor of the taco salad.
Yeah.
So zero Mexican heritage to that dish whatsoever.
It's the split of the genes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when they became.
It's hard to tell in this image here of Holiday Hill just how big this area is.
Right.
Because it looks rather small and compact when you don't have a giant mountain in the way.
Ooh, wait. I'm seeing something down at the bottom of that picture.
Yeah.
The yacht bar, is that where you could actually get a little booze at Disney back in the day?
I don't know.
Before you couldn't get booze at Disney, outside of the Pirates of the Caribbean restaurant?
That's something I don't
Or I
quite
guess the
know.
New Orleans restaurant?
If they openly sold booze outside of, or if it's just a cheeky little yacht bar.
Yeah.
And-
Hey, come get a $4 Coca-Cola.
In this economy?
In
Wait.
a 1950s $4 Coca. You gotta
And
put a mortgage out
I
at
got
that point.
I got a question. Is this an island that we're looking at? Is that water outside the yacht bar? Is that a moat?
There's water here with
Yeah.
boats in it, but
Okay,
this is, I believe, asphalt, or
Okay.
it could be loose gravel.
Oh, I would bank
this
loose gravel.
point.
Okay, I was because it kind of like it was an island, but then I see the boats now. Okay.
So not only does America's favorite smoker, Walt Disney,
Hitting that thing like it's a blunt.
yeah, dude, he makes smoking look so fucking
does
cool.
he does?
I mentioned to you days ago, Zach, that it's like seeing a picture of Obama smoking. You're like, man,
I
yeah,
want a
you-
cigarette right now.
yeah. So
The only member of this cast that hasn't been a smoker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, and that Walt Disney makes me want to puff one really quick.
yeah, you can hold one if you
And
want.
that-
You can look cool.
Can I? And that
right.
mustache too. Whoo! Sheesh.
Yeah, that mustache.
It's something.
Could we take a brief detour to that very rad gentleman in the lower
Is
left
We're
that-
getting
corner?
there,
that-
Taylor.
Is that a Jimmy Dean?
No, that's not James Dean.
Is that not a James Dean?
I try to include all our culprits here. So we have Walt Disney and engineering. We have American Bridge Company, who's hot off making that Oakland to San Francisco bridge,
The Bay
The Golden
Bridge?
Gate?
Yeah, the Bay Bridge.
Oh, okay.
And we have
The
Aerodynamics.
Aaron Yeager looking ass bridge?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. Whoa. Aerodynamics existed back then as well. The people who gave
We
us
had
a
planes,
wild
right?
thing and everything. But Aerodynamics was not in the roller coaster business.
Oh.
They were making small.
Oh, I see what you're saying about the wordplay. Okay,
Yeah,
Aerodynamics
Dynamics
Incorporated.
See,
Okay.
that completely flew over my head, and I was like, yeah, of course people knew about
Of course,
aerodynamics.
aerodynamics has been around since the makes-up
We had
gate.
planes in these days. We at least knew what.
Not like the wheel, Taylor. But no, Aerodynamics here basically made
TM. I think we should say TM after
They
it.
manufactured dynamics.
I'm just gonna
It's
call them Aero. I'm just gonna call them Aero because,
Yeah, they make dynamics. It's clear.
yeah.
Clear as a bell.
They made Ferris wheels. They made merry-go-rounds. They made your basically they made your dragon wheels
Okay.
for your smaller parks, and they were looking to get a big break, and they found that big break in Walt Disney. Walt Disney and this rad gentleman down here named Bob Gurr,
Oh, that's
who
a sick photo.
who is riding one of the early Autopia vehicles,
Oh,
testing
yeah.
it out because Bob Gurr designed every single ride that we see in the upper picture of Disneyland. He had
Cool.
some part and way of doing it back then and continued to throughout basically most of Disneyland's life up until the 80s. The guy is responsible for Pirates of the Caribbean, for an Autopia, of course, because that's him in his backyard testing out one of the cars and just having the most Disney experience.
Yeah,
I think
ripping it up in a
one man
Corvette,
could have.
basically.
Ripping shitties.
So Bob Gurr and Walt Disney are on the same level of madman craziness. So not only are we going to take that mountain that I love from that postcard and put it on Holiday Hill, we're going to make it a thrill ride. We're going to make the first tubular steel track roller coaster. And Aerodynamics Incorporated, first roller coaster they ever designed.
Oh.
And not only were they going to do it once, they were going to do it twice in the same mountain.
Wow.
Mr. President, a
Mr.
second
President, Mr.
second
President.
track is in the mountain. There are two separate entrances, one from Fantasyland, and one from your Tomorrowland. And basically, as Disneyland was growing in popularity, Walt had the forethought to be, like, hey, if we're going to make this big new ride, this thrill ride, we need to have as many people able to get on this and off this as possible. How can we do this? And that's what they came up with, is this fucking jumbled-ass spaghetti in the mountain.
This looks like a brain scan.
Yeah. This picture is going to give me an aneurysm. Because I've tried to, finger
Follow the red
trace, follow a blue line, and I'm wondering where these bits come up and around. But
What's that little white thing there?
I don't know. That's
Okay.
I've tried to figure that one out myself, and it's nothing in particular. It wouldn't indicate the water segment because that's, I believe, down here only on the red track. Your Tomorrowland track is about 20 seconds longer. Both the rides are about 2 minutes and some change.
Wait, one is 20 seconds longer?
Yeah, because, they can't be perfect length as they're going in and around this.
What? Why not?
Well, because, as we can see in the construction,
The mouse demands it.
they're not building a perfect mountain. And the
right,
ride is sequestered basically to the bottom 2/3 of the mountain, with your top third being a break room.
Oh, sick.
So that's where people are shooting Jays?
Yeah, you have time-traveling Donald Glover, and you have not time-traveling multiverse John Lennon here shooting some hoops in what appear to be the 80s.
Yep.
I believe the 80s, given
at
the
that
camera
flash, yeah.
and
And
this
that
man's
flannel.
clothing.
The early flannel.
Yeah, you had a break room for your climbers, because not only do you have the spectacle of riding a ride, but
you
another...
also have to pay people to be out in the
Those
hot Anaheim
poor
sun.
Oh,
sons
yeah.
of bitches.
One, I can only imagine how sunblind you get.
Oh,
or,
my God.
snow blind, I guess, from
Yeah.
having to, having something white reflecting light back at you constantly. And this is a time photo, so I'm glad I got one this quality. This harness don't look too great.
No.
Doesn't look profesh.
Doesn't
not
look
like
per-
legit.
But yeah, you're
Also looks like it hurts.
yeah.
Really tugging on them gams.
And we did
Putting
talk
your
about
junk
this,
in a
but just
position.
to point out,
Yeah.
the reason I hate Anaheim so fucking much is because it's hey, it's Anaheim. It has all of the fucking sun and heat of an LA, but with 0% of the ocean breeze because
Yeah,
it's a few
more
miles
inland,
inland. So you have no relief. There's a reason why LA's the destination rather than Anaheim.
And also we get a nice view of kind of what the park became. I think these climbers are from a 1960s photo, so we are kind of jumping ahead a bit.
Yeah.
But as you can see, an aerial view of the thing, you basically have a big steel, wood, and concrete mountain with your track going in and out. And unlike modern day today, in our bottom right-hand picture, the vast majority of the structure is open. Much like, a Space Mountain with the lights on. A lot of it is, your pillars and supports are hidden with concrete, but you just have a lot of open areas where...
You're seeing track.
You're seeing a whole lot of track. Modern day Matterhorn, they hide a lot of that. You're in a series of tubes. I really tried to figure out who was playing basketball here, because I have a feeling it's somebody famous just because of
The camera.
camera.
the slight
Cameraman's on 'em,
entourage
yeah.
here.
Maybe Jim Henson, who's currently shooting The Rock,
That's definitely Elton John, right?
or a bespectacled Chris Farley.
I did think
leaning
Chris.
over.
Oh my God, we know where
The
he found.
perfect photo to hide his
Also,
body.
can we say Disneyland, right?
Yeah.
This is the break room. This is the break room 20 years after it's made, and it's like this. You know what you don't see in Disneyland is it's fucking plywood. You don't even have a
The
real.
hoop is even made out of plywood.
Look at this. Did my dad make these stairs?
Yeah.
Like you kind of have a lot of almost a definition of class compared of if you're working at Disneyland, if you're in a line, or if you're outside of the line and can buy a $14 snow cone. You know, you kind of have your 3 tiers of class there.
Yep. Imagine how hot it is in the top of that thing.
Oh, probably balls hot. Because what's not in this image is also the top, other than being a break room, also contains all the machinery to pull the lift hills.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So you have
So it's loud
as hell motors going
loud
on.
and hot.
Yeah.
So how do you even get to this break room? Do you
I think there is a
go
way.
like through like a subterranean
You have to go through the
like,
waterfall.
tunnel and then up an elevator into it?
I think there is a side entrance that basically leads you up a bunch of stairways into it.
And of course, stairs, not
Oh, so
elevator.
on your 15-minute break, you have to do like 10 minutes of stair
It was
climbing?
mostly a break room for the climbers.
Okay.
And for
okay.
people
Not
who
a full Disney.
and if you wanted, you know, if you had some extra time and wanted to spend an extra 15 minutes, you can go shoot some hoops at Disney. If you so wanted to. If you were in the know, you know, sort of a deal. One thing we should point out is vehicle design, and we are going to get into that more in the following slides. But as we can tell, it's well, as far as we can see here, at least, single car,
Okay.
4 people.
That's it?
There is no division between
Two and four.
between
Or
your
two.
first and second rider and your third and fourth rider. You are basically on a seat with 2 seat belts. No lap bar. No shoulder restraint. Now, mind you, Matterhorn is not a quick ride. It doesn't have any real airtime either. Fastest it goes is 27 miles per hour, and it
Wow.
feels a lot slower than that riding it.
Mhm.
We've all ridden Matterhorn, right?
Just once.
No, I've never ridden Matterhorn.
I've ridden it a couple times. There was one day where it wasn't closed down, so
Yeah.
I just kind of kept on getting back in line when I could. And it's I'm gonna say it, gang. This is nobody's favorite roller coaster.
No.
First roller coaster, worst roller coaster.
That top right image is disturbing me. Something about the way those tracks synchronizingly come out looks like eyes.
Yeah,
And the
look-
bottom part looks like a mouth, so it looks like it's a white piece of
It's-
shit looking at me.
It's a big
with eyes.
screaming like tipped over ice cream cone.
Oh yeah, it just kind of looks to me like a big planner's board.
I got 1 or 2 more fun facts here. I really only one. It's hard to see in this picture, but when I mentioned that there was a Skytram that was had kind of a tower on Holiday Hill, your Skytram ended up going through the ride.
Really?
So you could be on a nice little gentle, 60 feet up in a little carriage and go through the Matterhorn and see all your kids screaming and.
What was the purpose of that? Just as an attraction of its own, or was it a way to like get across the park quicker?
It was more of an attraction on its
Okay.
own. There were many different things. I mean, the monorail is the same kind of example of that, but the monorail, I guess, kind of has more of a purpose of taking people from a hotel to the park.
Yeah, when they started to buy more land, extend out to the hotels and stuff, yeah.
And Walt Disney, of course, had a boner for look how I'm innovating. I hope somebody buys my patents to make these things. There was also another ride called the People Mover, which was basically
The people
Is
mover?
that just the tram?
It was basically a small tram that rode around on a like raised track in Tomorrowland.
okay.
It didn't go that fast. It had a renovation called like Rocket Rods in 2000 that I waited like 3 hours to ride. Its only thing is it popped a wheelie
Oh,
when it went. It had
pretty
had
Oh,
like
wait, that was its selling point?
its selling point was it went like 20 miles per hour and popped a fake wheelie like as it like rode down a straight part of the track. But the
Sick.
rest of it was like 4 miles per hour.
All right.
All right,
So
you had your fun. So safe to say, Matterhorn accomplished everything that Walt Disney Engineering and Walt had kind of planned for it to be.
Okay.
They got a great big thing.
They got a great big thing that's
This is-
another fuck you finger to God.
This is another Tower of Babel. Oh, is that the image you sent me? Oh,
Yeah.
that is. Yeah, when I
When they're
replied with
making-
the Tower of Babel. Okay.
But it's a thrill ride, quote unquote. It's the first at something, being the
It's a
first.
1960s thrill ride.
Yeah, it's a 1960s thrill ride, but
Which means
with
women
a
showed their ankles. That was a pretty
with
big
a
deal.
tubular steel track. We showed a wild mouse.
Tubular steel track. You're talking about like it's gauged up.
Could have 3 sets of wheels.
We could also have like a square tubular
Just
steel.
to take a little bit back, you could also do this with square steel, but with a circular track. Mind you, Matterhorn's outer side wheels are actually on the inside
Okay.
of
That's
the
a good-
track.
that's good.
I mean, you don't nail everything the first time.
But this is
in
like a
different ways.
friction, so they're wrapped around. Oh, those are wheels. You're saying those are 3
these
wheels.
are 3 wheels wrapped around the track,
Okay.
and it being tubular steel rather than your typical square steel or like a wood track with a wood frame with a steel track over it.
Okay.
You have a lot more options in what you can do. You can twist and turn the son of a bitch however you want, as we see in modern roller coasters. You can do loops and inversions and stuff like that in ways that your ride doesn't whip the fuck out of the people. One
Okay.
thing we didn't mention,
Or it won't just like leave.
yeah, or just hey, bye.
You now have the possibility of becoming stuck upside down.
Yeah.
Where you wouldn't previously.
One thing I didn't mention when we were talking about our early 1900s looping coaster, because of the type of loop it is and because of everything at the time, that ride fucked people up. Like
Okay.
that ride did the equivalent of
a
like
small car accident.
like a small car accident, instant like 6 Gs on your body. Yeah, so I mean, it's just something worth noting. That's how you can get 2 spaghettis, two snakes basically fucking in a mountain as your roller coaster track, much like 2 rats fucking in a sock.
the Kansas City Heat.
The Kansas City analogy.
Yeah.
Hey, so what was happening on Holiday Hill? I mean, we said that there
Yeah.
was like,
Naked.
it was supposed to be like a makeup.
There's 2
look.
rats fucking in some dirt.
We
was
call
it-
that Toontown now.
Was it just like undeveloped? It was. I saw like a. If
It
we
was
go back,
fairly undeveloped. We
I
could
want
go
to say,
back.
is that a desired path next, like
That
over
is-
the hill?
These are some desired paths. There are some benches.
People just walking over the
mind you,
hill.
over the years, a few more trees were put in.
Okay.
A little bit more foliage. But then, as they realized that people were going up there to necking, they pulled that foliage out.
Okay,
From
'cause
what
they-
I read,
'cause they wanna be able to put the
I don't
light
know.
on you.
I have no. I want to say this is early because these appear to be baby trees.
Yeah.
This is an investment. So I'm going to say this is before they really churched up Holiday Hill before scrapping it entirely.
But was it called Holiday Hill because there was like a Christmas theme to it? An anti-Hanukkah theme,
Look at
given that it's
the-
Disney.
Walt's like 3 cartons deep. There is a literal mountain, like Matterhorn of butts on his table, and he just kind of, he just has a stroke of genius. We got to call that mound of dirt something. Why not Holiday Hill?
Okay, so it's there. It was just undeveloped. It was.
Yeah.
It was.
I mean, you can see it from the far away thing. I mean, it's nothing to scoff at.
Okay.
Everything else is a big ass building that.
Has a purpose.
You're not
It
supposed
was-
to see or be, solely dedicated to just these small areas of the park.
I suppose I should also ask as well, is there a reason that Disneyland had to open on such like a tight time constraint? I imagine like the Walt Disney Company
Oh yeah, does that
had,
must factor
had
into
the
some of
funds
this.
to probably delay until everything was finished if they wanted to.
I think much like a modern tentpole movie, they set a date,
Okay.
and then I assume they were afraid they were going to lose faith because there
Absolutely.
was a lot of Walt Disney money, yes, but then the reason you have your other brands coming into Disneyland is, hey, this is an investment, you're going to have a stable part of my park, but I assume because Disneyland came up in a year. Matterhorn was made in a year as well, but all this bullshit is
Sorry,
1
really?
year. Yes.
Under American labor that was built
Under
in a year?
American labor within
It was
a year.
non-union though. That
Oh,
Yeah.
duh, yeah.
So I imagine if you set a deadline and you're doing this much work, I assume it was like an investor's like, hey, they're gonna get cold. You're gonna start getting these companies in, have cold feet, and they're gonna pull their money out of it, and you're gonna be more in the hole when you throw the worst fucking grand opening anybody's ever seen. But it is safe to say, like, problems and incidents were a common theme from Disneyland from day one.
So it's more of an ego-driven thing of like, I said this is when the park will open, so that's when the park will open,
Absolutely.
rather than a,
Well, this was
we need to open this so we
Yeah.
can keep making fucking movies sort of thing.
And Walt was, he was kind of shaken up on the day, whether it be nerves or whether him kind of
Chilly.
whether it's him seeing all these little things that are failing that are adding up, like
I can only imagine for a control
they hadn't
freak.
paid a water bill or the water pipes weren't fully installed yet, so they had the choice of running toilets on the first day or running water fountains, and they chose toilets.
That's a good choice.
That's
That's a very good choice.
I'm gonna say, don't flip the coin on that one. That's a good choice.
that is a good choice.
That's a pretty good
That's a
choice.
very, hey, if you're put with a binary decision.
Unless you want people shitting in the fountains.
Yeah.
But imagine the tourists getting in there like, oh, this one, it just says out of order. Okay, well, go to the next one, and then you go to the next one. This one says out of order.
There actually is a report that was somebody, a newspaper writer in Southern California, who basically had I went to one water fountain and it didn't work. And I went to another and it didn't work. And then I looked over and there's a 30-person line to get a Coca-Cola at a little stand. And he's
Well,
like,
that's good
this
business,
man,
isn't
this
it?
man knows how to make money.
That dude knows
basically.
how to make money.
Hey man, but I mean, when you got people eating hot tuna pies and fucking tacos, you really need to make sure that they can take a shit.
And you're about to take them on a donkey ride back here, which was the thing. They just put you on a donkey and you rode around some
Slapped its ass and then you took off.
concrete, cactuses and all that. So to get back at the story at hand, it's really not like Disneyland was without incident. People had gotten injured before, even within the first few weeks. Mind you, you ironed some bugs out. He had a second opening day.
Oh yeah. Well, this was the soft open, right?
Yeah, no, he had a wide
other
open.
ego.
He had a wide open first, and then he had a soft open for I'm gonna bring you newspaper people back here so you can experience the non-shit show Disneyland with working
Yeah.
water fountains. And
What
it won't sink
restaurant
into-
is successful on the first day? We have to.
Yeah.
smell
Probably
into
any
this.
of them.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
you're walking around in the heat, you're gonna get hungry.
Still, though, within the first few weeks, the Disneyland Railway, the train that goes around the park,
Oh, tell me about it.
there is a switch in the track to put the trains off into a station sort of
Oh,
deal, or to
yeah?
keep it on the track. And the guy in charge of operating the switch switched it while the train was on it.
Oh shit.
So you had your front 4 cars are on one track, and then the back 2 wheels of another car's on another track.
Cool.
So you're Tokyo drifting.
You are multi-track drifting at this point.
That only goes for a certain period of time. There's a gap that gets too wide.
Oh yeah, no. Before the gap got too wide, the corner of the train that was now drifting. I mean, mind you, this thing's only going 10 miles per hour, but you can't. It's a train. You can't stop it
Yeah.
right away. It hit a concrete pillar in part of a tunnel.
That's so cool.
Switch operator, put down the story
Sorry.
goes. The legend goes.
He got put down.
He basically he took
Him,
off his
his
uniform.
fucking family.
Moved to Brazil.
No, he took off his uniform. He blended into the crowd and was
Oh.
never seen again. And not, there have been people who have tried to find this guy.
I'm sure there was an unidentified body that was found outside of Tijuana that could be attributed to this man.
He was
Yeah,
Forensic
no,
technology was good enough.
K-E-Y.
He was identified by his Mickey Mouse tattoo. They're all required to get when
Let's
they
say,
enter the cult.
I've been to Disneyland. I've seen what they can do to find people. They found that man. It was like the IDF for the Mossad agents that went to Brazil.
Hold on to that thought, Taylor. We're gonna loop back around to this thought. So we had multiple incidents. People had gotten hurt, but it wasn't until May 15th, 1964 that somebody.
A date.
Well,
It's a date.
mind you, he died in the hospital 3 days later. So you do get your, what we've talked about, Taylor, hey, just so you can say that nobody died at Boeing.
Yeah.
They don't have actual nurses. You
Yeah.
guys still get the EMTs to come to
And you take 'em to a
declare
local
you dead
medical
at the
facility,
hospital.
yeah.
Yeah.
As we've discussed off mic, you cannot, it's just statistics, that you cannot have tens of thousands of people gathered somewhere and not have people have some sort of
on the
injury or
daily.
medical
Yeah.
emergency.
Well, also, just going to Disney, just looping back to Disneyland here, if you would have told me 3 weeks ago that, yeah, 2 people died during the construction of Disneyland, I would have totally believed you, and I feel like I know my Disney shit.
Yeah.
Nobody, up until May 15th, 1964 is the date of the incident. He died on
May 18th.
He died on the 19th, early on the 19th.
I like that font.
Before we get into this, of course,
what is death?
This is an accident. One, Disney is very secretive about a lot of the incidents that happen in their park. They choose to settle out of court, and that even ranges back to this era as well, because Walt is still alive.
Yes.
He will be alive for 2 more years.
He's alive for another 50 years, I believe.
Well,
60 more years.
His head's being chilled, yes. His brain's alive.
Depending on what your definition of alive is, he's still kicking.
But in 1964, at this time, you finally have your Doritos becoming the #1 chip in America.
Cool.
Disneyland has gone under some renovations. You're starting to build your New Orleans Square. So no Pirates of the Caribbean yet.
Okay.
No Haunted Mansion. No Splash Mountain. But you are starting to get more renovations to the park. It's almost nearing its 10 years. Matterhorn's been around.
It was open in like 55, you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Matterhorn was made 59, so you could say like halfway point between now. Matterhorn's 5 years old, Disneyland's 10 years old.
I just gotta clear something up in my head here. Is this the first like themed park?
No, there were many.
Because I know that there was like Knott's Berry Farm is like I guess
it's a park with themes, and mind you, Knott's Berry Farm even at the time had like an old West town.
Okay.
You had themes.
Sections. So this
Sections
is not a
of
new
parks
idea.
No.
He's taking an idea that's kind of a new market, indeed.
He's taking an
I
idea.
guess carnivals were kind of a theme park that came town to town.
Disney wasn't Disney until he became Disney.
God,
yeah.
Roger that.
That's a Yogi Berra saying, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
But at the time, he took a theme park, heavy on the theme, and Disney-fied it. He went all out.
Disney has always been, what is it, a verb?
Like spectacle.
Since we've been in children.
Yeah.
We were raised on his products from 40 years ago by the time we were growing up.
1928 is Steamboat Willie.
Oh, yes.
Holy shit. So yeah, we've been influenced. So Disney is its
a
own
household
word.
name.
We're almost to a century of Disney.
It is already its own characterization, like a full-fledged like experience now, where you have a Disneyland where that is themed in the cartoon aspects of Mickey Mouse, and you have a whole.
But here's the weird thing: you could have it themed like Mickey Mouse, or you could have, hey, we made a main street of the whitest town we could imagine.
Right.
Like we're gonna make our weirdest best town, and I'm gonna sleep on top of the fire department because I'm king of this castle. Like it's.
And how many interesting different things? I don't know. It's weird that you get to see these movies and then they're brought to life in a small amount of parcels. They get to create this different experiences for movies you like, and create this immersive like 4D experience where you get to be in the movies and live with those characters. And there are so many different ones around. This park is such an interesting concept that people get to walk from different experiences to different experiences.
Well, it's a simple experience of like what any media gives us, and that's escaping our boring ass, terrible ass lives, and to just do something else, see something else, experience something else for a little bit. Disneyland allows you to kind of walk around in that. Or, you can just not like theme parks and just kind of, sort of a deal. I sit on either sides of that. I've been back and forth on that spectrum for as long as I've been a little kid. Where it's I hate this is weird. I feel like I'm in a bad sci-fi movie right now. To just kind of like, this is kind of exciting. Like, out of nowhere, there's a little Nemo dance party that just popped up. Like, 40 people and like a drum crew just like popped out of nowhere while I'm like waiting in line to get a $15 Pepsi.
Crazy.
If you really want an acid experience as a kid, you go do the Main Street Electric Light Parade.
Oh yeah,
prior to its
wild.
retirement. Their
fireworks shows are fucking. Like it's a Tuesday. What are you celebrating?
Yeah,
I would
but every
hate
night
living.
is-
I would hate living so close to Disneyland.
Does anybody live close to
Kinda.
Disneyland?
I mean, if you're divorced, you might live in one of the hotels around
yeah.
Disneyland.
I was gonna say, like, I stayed in the hotels like around Disneyland, and like you are certainly aware of the fireworks. If I were a ne'er do well in the Anaheim area, I would certainly kind of time when I would want to shoot someone based off of the fireworks show every night at Disneyland.
No,
Taylor,
that was the
allegedly.
Disney noises you were hearing, Sharon. That was not gunshots.
I was
promise.
not clacking the tongs in the rec room.
I was not doing apartment pops. Okay.
No, like I've stayed like. No, I've never had the luxury of staying in a Disney hotel.
Well,
I've always
even in the
Oh,
90s,
I
that was a
have.
ridiculous price.
It's not.
always been a good like mile and a half, 2 miles
Oh,
walk
yeah.
from
Oh,
Disney. And even then,
Wait,
it's
walk?
like
You guys
it's,
didn't take the bus?
no, we could walk it. But no, like even then, it's like you are super aware of when that fireworks show is.
Oh, yeah.
It's very loud. You could definitely get away with like, oh, that's just Disney. Well, there's fucking gunshots going.
That's when they bring like the audio spectrum thing into the court, and they're just showing. Nope, this little yellow line here.
They're doing an examination of audio, like wavelengths.
like-
Like, see, right here, this
Here's
spark here.
the past 4 fireworks shows when Tinkerbell came out, and it appears at 9:17 p.m.
There's an abnormality. What is
So-
that noise anyway?
Yeah. I mean, to get back to this, I mean,
So to
we're
elevate it-
talking about the first person who died at Disneyland. I mean, personally, I've always had a dark sense of humor and all that, but
Yeah.
a lot of the information on this is sparse, varied, and mostly hearsay because this became part of like your urban legend. Oh, dark Disneyland.
Word.
Well, when you
it.
sell yourself as the happiest place on earth,
Yeah.
you certainly don't want to acknowledge that people have died have either in general died there,
Yeah.
or have died as a result of being
That's
there.
bad. That's bad PR.
That's real bad.
Because
So-
once you open that door at all, between being this
Oh,
huge
yeah.
fantasy place to then allowing now the acknowledgement at all that death can occur in Disneyland, that death and Disneyland are in your same neurological pathways.
It's not
that's
an
bad
ink
for
blot
business.
on the picture. It's a fucking broke pen.
Yeah.
like streaked across the picture. And I'm going to try to, when I give this, I'm kind of amalgamating everything,
Okay.
and because there are many different aspects and stories that are part of this that all are kind of weirdly relatable to me in a way of you're a 15-year-old kid, you're doing stupid shit.
Yeah.
You know, like and we'll get to that when we get to that. One thing I wish I knew before we really get into the details here is where Walt was when
Where
this
Mr. President was.
because the world's
He was in New Jersey. He saw
No, he
the
was-
Muslims celebrating on top of the building.
the World's Fair in New York had opened a month before.
Okay.
And that's where Disney's showing off animatronics for the first time with your Lincoln, with your It's a Small World.
Jaws.
That's a year after the Space Needle.
Yeah. So you have.
It's about 5 years before
There's a
he
good
helps
chance
Kubrick
that
get to the moon.
Walt Disney is somewhere between Anaheim and New York.
In a bird.
Could be in a bird. Could be still staying in New York for opening ceremony, or like staying around a month after the World's Fair is open to oversee some stuff. Because I know his stuff didn't open quite on time compared to the rest of the World's Fair.
Oh, so he was at the World's Fair.
He
this
could have
year.
been at the World's Fair. He could have been in Anaheim.
I don't think he showed the fuck up to Seattle's, which was the year beforehand. I
No,
think.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
Well, we're not. This isn't. This isn't. It happened in Seattle, though. Too.
No, I know.
So, yeah, let's get down to it. So Mark Maples is a 15 year-old kid.
It was a kid?
Who's still unconscious.
This
They say
is
to this day.
this is Friday's paper, and
Which
then
is
this
not inaccurate.
You're absolutely right.
You're not
That is
wrong.
a timeless sentence.
Oh man. So here is our paper from Friday on the left, and then down the bottom right, we have a couple days later. Mark Maples was on a trip with his local Youth Elks Club.
Oh, okay. He was hanging out with a bunch of deer.
I only
just
know of
those-
adult Elks clubs, which are like Rotary clubs and all that.
They're just places for old people to get together and drink.
Yeah, discount beers, and then
There's something very like
they have a prime rib night, I guess, too.
Yeah, there's something very 1950s, 1960s about like just having social clubs, dinner
membership clubs.
things
Yeah.
of like that nature.
But I don't think of that and then think of like off-brand Boy Scouts. I tried
Little bit.
looking up information about like the youth Elks Club.
I kind of instantly went to like boys golf society.
Boys are just sitting around eating cheap steak,
Yes.
drinking beers.
Yep, making sloppy steaks, but playing golf, playing
Yeah.
tennis. I feel like it's a recreational thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
it is a my kind of.
I don't understand the purpose of an Elks Club. It's
I
not a
don't either.
VFW.
I think it's just a place for people to get together and feel cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know?
yeah.
It was
So-
another way to exclude black people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So Mark Maples here is with two of his friends in a small group of the Elks Club.
Are there adults?
I believe there were a few chaperones, but Mark's parents weren't at Disneyland that
Oh,
day.
damn.
You can assume that, like, whoever had the worst kid, like, his parents were there to watch on him. Or, you know, like, the Christian kid in the class.
Uh-huh.
You know, like,
narc.
the narc. And then it's like, oh, we got the narc, and the narc's mom's here, too, because she's going to narc on the narc.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So lots of allegedlys here, but supposedly your group wasn't staying as a big group. Mark and two of his friends are, you know, kind of reported as like harassing a couple people at Disneyland.
So they're ruffian boys.
They're a little bit ruffian. They're a little bit showing off. You know, it appears I believe I read somewhere that they had allegedly spit on somebody.
Okay.
But
I
you know,
ran into his grandchildren at my most recent trip to Disneyland.
you know, he's a typical 15-year-old kid. All right.
Yeah.
So, you know, they want to ride the Matterhorn. So him and his friends start, you know, they're in line for Matterhorn. Some people report that a group of 3 boys were pushing ahead in line at the Matterhorn, you know, and sneaking ahead, and people just kind of let it be because it's kids. You
Kids-
know,
Teenagers
there's not
are
an
gonna be
adult
shitheads.
around who can, you know,
to yell at. So
I
they can
can't yell at
them.
the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
that's
still
what
the
my kid is.
early 1960s. I'm surprised someone didn't just take it matters into their own hands and beat them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
And mind you, we don't know. We weren't there that day.
We weren't.
And a lot of people who have retold and added their bits to the story weren't there that day. And for all we know, they could have just been 3 people in line, like
That's good.
everybody else.
Yeah, I'd
You know?
like to look at this objectively. So
Are you-
Yeah.
I'll spread away with the hearsay, and I'll get my own opinion off this.
Are we positing? Apparently my theme with this project is a conspiracy. That this is a Disney smear campaign.
Oh,
we
yes.
hold on to the
first off,
hold on to the SOT Taylor because
Well, we have time for questions later.
we'll talk about what happened. We'll talk about what Disney did after things happened because, so as we can see, we are back to a better picture now of the Matterhorn ride vehicle. You got 2 people sitting
Okay,
in
that looks
essentially.
Like, that's still 2.
yeah,
Is this 2 in front?
Is this a 1960s edition?
this is a
of
this
the
is
slide?
more of a
Okay.
1960s design, but it's the same sort of seating arrangement
That
where
is
you
so
have
awkward.
you have 2 different lengths of seat belts.
Yep.
Yeah. And so the
Um,
person in the back has to like
Well,
not bend at the
it was
knees?
called like a fun ride for couples because
Oh,
you know
yeah.
because you get
Take your best gal and have her sit basically in your lap.
Yeah.
Or in the case of this guy, he's I don't
Oh.
know, he's gonna break a pelvis bone on
Just-
on
And
Wanda
he's flipping
here.
off the camera.
Is he now?
It looks
Little
very
bit. I wish we could
pixelated
zoom
around
in.
the hand.
Wait, is that Walt Disney smoking in the back?
Wait, I think I see Lee
That's
Harvey Oswald.
That's Walt Disney.
Oswald.
That's Disney getting his belt.
So, as far as we know, because objectively 2 boys from the Elks Club rode in the same car as Mark Maples. From what I could tell from what I read, Mark Maples is in the back seat. And these 2,
Did you find the JFK dimensions of this to find out where he was sitting for maximum damage?
it's only what I can infer because nobody says they sat with them, which means the 2 other boys sat together.
Okay.
And they also mentioned not seeing Mark fall right away, which makes
which
me
means
think
they're in the
that
front.
if he was in front of them,
Okay.
they might have noticed it. But that could still
Which
be.
direction did he fall in? Was it back and to the left?
Yep.
Hold on to this thought, Taylor.
Wait, was this the same year that JFK died? 1964?
No, this is actually some time after.
Yeah.
This is like 6
Oh,
months
63 JFK was shot?
after. Yeah.
Wow. 60s were a long decade.
Yeah, a whole lot happened.
Like,
Some called it a decade of change.
Some do.
In 1964, you would have had then President Lyndon Baines Johnson running for re-election.
Yeah.
So, as things go, after the ride had cleared the lift hill and was, Matterhorn doesn't have like a steep drop right after you get to the top,
Okay.
like some roller coasters. It kind of eases into things. Again, it only goes 27 miles per hour at the fastest, and I think like an average speed of like 17. Like, it's going, but it's not like this thing speeds up right away. One of Mark's friends sees basically Mark's jacket fly out of the car, and as they're looking,
But no boy?
but no boy, and they don't know what's happened. So then when the train goes back into the station, they let somebody know, and at that point, somebody from an earlier car had basically told the station that a kid had fallen out and onto one of the lower pieces of the track.
Oh, God.
So as we can see, and it's hard to get many images of the inside of Matterhorn, but as we could see in something like this, there's a lot of shit to fall on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know where it is. It's definitely not on one of the outside parts, but
Right.
but the boy definitely fell about 20 to 30 feet inside the Matterhorn. Heavy brain injury. They take him to the hospital. Dead 3 days later.
Oh,
Nothing the family could do. Really, I mean, it said that surgery wasn't like asked by the parents, which makes me possibly think of Mark's economic status. Or at the
Possibly.
same time, there might have not been a possibility because,
It was 64, so.
64, and if he fell down and if his head broke his fall on like a piece of track, a concrete piece of mountain, things aren't going to go too well for anybody, let alone...
Do we know what the official medical ruling was as to cause of death?
It's so hard. All I have, all I have are grave sites and newspaper clippings. I've tried to look up old hospital records and I've had no luck. But hey, best of luck to you, Taylor.
It's a very big shame. Well, no, my great grandmother probably wouldn't have been involved in that because she was a nurse at Kaiser Permanente in the greater Los Angeles area at the time.
It was a hospital, I believe, in Long Beach.
Long Beach, yeah, that'd have been where she was working.
Okay.
Oh, fuck. She pulled the cord on him.
Good old Sadie Britton.
This story took an unexpected twist, Taylor.
I don't think my grandmother or great grandmother was up to any medical murder.
So, as there's an investigation going on while Mark is unconscious in the hospital, police are interviewing, of course, the two other boys. They're interviewing other people around the park, and every story is kind of conflicting of between the two boys of what happened on the ride.
Okay.
Some of the other kids in the group who got interviewed by police mentioned that good old Mark here was trying to, go out of his way to be rebellious to try to get in with these two kids.
Okay, he was showing up.
He was trying to show off, and maybe these two kids were hazing him and telling him, you need to spit on this guy in the park and stuff like that. So we have a full character assassination of the two friends of Mark here. In the sense that that's kind of what the police latch onto for a short while, just long enough for it to make rounds in newspapers before Disney basically pays off the family.
Okay.
And the police department come out and make a statement that say no, this was an accident. This wasn't a result of hazing.
Yeah.
As far as we know, the seatbelt that Mark was fastened to, both were in their typical, almost like car seatbelts.
Yeah.
Okay.
With a manual pulling fastening strap to tighten it.
Yeah.
Easy to check, and as you can see, I don't know if they were bright orange in the 60s, but they made them bright, they made them visible. Seatbelt was still attached, So he slipped out of his seatbelt
Oh shit.
intentionally or unintentionally. You could say it's ride operator error, because if that kid is fashioned around one of the two seat belts in the seat and fashioned around the wrong one, there's really no way.
Loose room.
Yeah, there's possibly a lot more room than the kid let on, especially if he's being, trying to show off and be cool. Like,
if he's hot dogging.
Yeah. Oh, I fastened the wrong seatbelt. I'm totally gonna stand up when the ride's going.
Yeah,
I put the Fat Man belt on.
Not to personally character assassinate Mark Maples, because again, for all we know, this is a kid who took a bump in a weird way.
Yeah.
Reacted weird and ended up slipping out of his seatbelt.
There's something inherently about the physics of the Matterhorn ride that would send you flying off out of it, though, right?
Typically, no, but there are a few bumps and curves where if you applied probably very little pressure, if you wanted to slightly get out of that seat, you could get out of that seat and onto the track if you're not strapped down. It's not particularly fast, doesn't take any banks, doesn't go upside down, but still there's just enough going on, be it concrete around you and rock face and all that.
It's busy. It's a busy area.
It's a busy area.
It's not designed to be free walked, to be maneuvered around outside of, its cart.
So after Mark dies, and this is technically before the family pays, gets paid off by Disney.
Before non-disclosure agreements are signed.
Yes. Mark Maples' dad is obviously pissed. In the sense of, Disney's doing their own independent, thing. And
just like the cops.
Yes.
They're independent investigation.
They do an independent investigation to make sure there's not any ride failure to cover their ass. Mind you, it's 1964, so if there is some limited closed-circuit TV at Disney, they don't have security cameras on the ride.
Yeah.
You basically just have human witnesses at that point.
God, perfect time to get away with murder. That's why there's so many serial killers back then,
It's so much easier.
And nobody had cell phones that could track their every movement.
Absolutely. Dude.
What do you mean?
Take
I
me
was
back.
on 43rd Street. Sir, you like to tweet on 43rd Street. So yeah, Mark Maples' dad does an independent investigation. That's where you get, he comes out and blames the two friends that they're, obviously,
Really?
My golden child of a son was being hazed by these two kids and doing something wrong.
Might I say poor strategy on Mr. Maples?
Yeah.
What are you going to get out of two kids who went on a Disney trip with the Elks Club? How much money do they have available to you? You got to go for the big mouse off the bat.
It's where things get really confusing before the NDAs are signed and the money sent over, and nobody talks really about it anymore. Disney's investigation, of course, slandered Mark Maples, saying obviously to get out of that seat, you would have to try to get out of that seat.
He violated rider instructions.
Yeah. So the whole thing kind of becomes a mess and is not forgotten. It is a dark stain on Disney and does, in fact, break the seal of further deaths and injuries.
Well, this is the first death because of Disney. I imagine at this point in time there have been deaths at Disney beforehand.
No, you start getting into semantics here, because the next death comes in 1966, where somebody's trying to sneak into the park. Walt's still alive for this one as well. He's in his last few months.
Yeah.
I don't think he's hospitalized at this point.
He died in his 40s? No, he must have died in his 60s.
I don't know. He's not dead, Zach.
Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry. I keep forgetting.
But no, somebody tried to sneak in. They got caught by the monorail. Apparently got dragged down the monorail track about 80 or so feet, and a lot of the sanitary, a lot of the janitor workers that had to clean up.
I don't know if they got enough sawdust for that.
No, they don't. A lot of them came out to the news immediately. They're like, I quit my job at Disney. This is the worst thing I've ever seen.
Golly.
And that's just an accident. That's somebody drunk trying to get into Disneyland at night hours. Why is the monorail running though?
At night?
Or I don't believe the park was open when this happened.
Wow.
But and things kind of continue to happen whenever something like this. I believe Matterhorn was closed down after the death for some period of time. I think it was only 3 days. It was like Christ. It was a
9/11 situation.
It got buried for 3 days.
There was a bad Friday, and then on Sunday morning it had risen.
Yeah. So I don't believe Disney got fined by what was, I don't think OSHA existed, but there might have been.
Well, OSHA wouldn't have necessarily apply to this because it's not like an occupational accident that had occurred.
No, but Disney in all their power made sure that there was no way to finger point the ride.
Mm-hmm.
A big, beautiful step in the name of capitalism.
Yeah.
I will tell you. Let that business do whatever it wants without any penalty of
And
law.
me personally, I mean, I've tried to look at this thing objectively while also being like, well, what about this, that, and the other thing? I believe Mark Maples is just a kid.
Yeah.
Who whether trying to show off, because I've done stupid shit on amusement park rides. I've thrown stuff out of like roller coasters even. I've thrown like glow sticks out the back of Tremors when I was like 14.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't think about these things. You don't think about, oh God, what if that hits somebody, or like, instead of throwing glow sticks, oh, I'm gonna try to stand up a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just because it's a different rush too. Like to be able to defy the rules and take the live Moss, to take it all into your own hands a little bit more.
I believe this is an unfortunate accident, but I do believe in some way either your ride inspector did not check his seatbelt properly and he's buckled into the wrong one, or Mark Maples may have possibly shown off a little bit, and it just happens to be an unfortunate chain of events that led to his death.
Well,
Absolutely.
I see it as if the ride inspector, I don't think the ride inspector would have checked there. I mean, because you have to check every single person all the time, make sure it's safety fastened.
Yeah.
I think there is a lot of room for error in that.
There is.
Human error. And I think you add that with the need of the child to be able to have a different experience than everyone else. And as you noted on the Space Mountain slide, the slide with Space Mountain in the light, and you can see all of these rails and stuff. And you said, Taylor, some kid just like lifts his hands up, and he gets like some 7-foot tall guy lifts his hands up, and boom. Yeah. That's the margins that these roller coasters have. So when you defy the exact science they put down, when you are the anomaly to what they've predicted will happen on their ride, if you do it at the right time, there's going to be a consequence. And those two things mixed together, like the JFK assassination, a lot of things happening at once. I know. It always comes back to JFK and 9/11. And if you mix those two things together, you have this recipe that chaos can happen. And unfortunately, that's what looks like happened here.
There needs to be a bit of a burden of responsibility on Disney in this instance. It was an unforeseen circumstance, but it has to be one that, like, if you are going to put people on a machine of yours that does have the potential to kill them, you should do everything within your power to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Absolutely, yeah.
Your margins shouldn't be so thin that
there's a reason why most rides where nowadays, if you had the possibility of like being able to stand up or like even be delimbed by doing things like that, they have the shoulder bar that comes down and restrains you, gives you T-Rex arms, so that there's no possible way that you could potentially harm yourself, whether intentionally or unintentionally, on their ride.
Yeah.
And minor improvements all throughout the later 60s and 70s came to Matterhorn, or at least changes. They concreted up a lot more of the inside of it, so now you were going through a series of tubes, and you didn't have so many open areas
you're facing an 8-foot fall instead of a 30-foot fall.
Exactly.
And you're just hitting the bottom of a concrete tube rather than track.
And as we saw in a previous picture, your ride vehicle is somewhat modernized, and that's not just the fiberglass like exterior of it. They're trying to make a safer
There are lap
ride.
bars.
Yes, we wouldn't have a safer Matterhorn if something like Mark Maples,
right.
There. And it's small and tiny increments, and oh boy, thank God, nothing ever happened again.
Not once.
Not 20 fucking years later did something happen again on Matterhorn. That
was a great sell. That was a really good sell.
Easier.
I can see another accident coming.
It's so goddamn similar that it's kind of scary in a way, and
As
it
the
makes
former governor of the state of California once said, "It's a new morning in America, ladies and gentlemen."
by 1984, you had Tokyo Disney open up a year earlier. The
Oh,
only
yeah,
park
baby.
outside of the States. You had a Disney World.
Yeah, when
in
did the world open?
71.
You know so much about Disney. I am so impressed.
Yeah, that's how I
I'm
measure
glad
time.
I can
Space
lob a
program in Disney.
I have two wolves inside of me.
And again, Disney's been dead for a while. We're starting to get into the Eisner era. You have
Eisner.
We've mentioned your era of animatronics in Disney has risen, fallen,
Do you have a
and
Country
risen
Bears
back
now?
again. Yeah,
You have a Mickey Mouse
You got a
hat?
Country Bears in like mid 70s.
Really?
At this point, do you have that Michael Jackson experience there yet?
Oh, I don't know if you have Captain EO yet, or if
Yeah.
it was the show before Captain EO, which was I think oh God,
A reading of the
somebody's
International
gonna
Jew
crucify me, Taylor.
by an animatronic Henry
No, it was
Ford.
Mein Kampf, please.
Yeah. Well, there's an American inspiration to that. Henry Ford was a big proponent of it. Americans are returning to
I was
work.
here on opening day, and there's ABC video of me smooching on a Frontierland employee lady.
We were doing that whole V-Day thing.
Nancy was giving throat to a guy playing Captain Hook.
The hook was his cock.
There's a reason they cast him as Hook.
All right, let's go.
So, by the time we get to January 3rd, 1984, I believe we are up to 10 deaths at Disneyland at
What?
this point.
Wait, what's the phrasing though?
10 deaths at Disneyland or 10 deaths because of Disneyland?
As far as I mean, do you,
Has
do you
anyone-
count the guy who's on the outside monorail track as being in Disneyland when it drags him down?
Has
Yes.
anybody died on the sacred land of Disney?
Yeah.
There's countless old people that have to be having heart attacks and strokes. Like it's just
Some people
it's
do.
just statistics.
We don't get those statistics though. The statistics I'm talking about are like people. There's a couple grad night incidents in the 70s where some people have a little bit too much to drink, or either sneaking it in or getting it at the yacht bar, and they decided that they were going to steal a rubber raft from a staff area and try to go and have their own great river cruise.
They went country.
And,
they became little country boys and girls.
Yeah, and somebody drowned that way. The People Mover I mentioned earlier, the little slow tram on a raised track, is responsible for the deaths of 2 people, as somebody would try to, again, exit a People Mover while it's in motion and either tumble down and take a serious injury and are dead, or get hit by the car that's following behind the People Mover.
So when you say by this time 10 deaths,
Ish. This is a note that I should have put down, but I didn't
regardless-
want to go through all of them.
Right. Regardless, I just want to say if we're setting the bar at 10 over 25 years
Yeah.
of establishment, are we surprised by this? Is that number too low?
This is almost 30 years.
Here's the
This is
thing,
almost
though.
30 years. Yeah,
You also have to take into the amount of people that come to Disneyland compared to like other amusement parks and all that, and it's like dollars over donuts. Like what you
Pretty
said,
safe.
Taylor. You're gonna have eventually. You get that many people together, you're gonna have incidents, be them injury, death, what have you, or
Right.
just
That's what I'm
or
wondering. Is
just
this number
old
so
age.
low?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Like medical emergencies happen. Like,
There was a lady
Yeah.
buying popcorn in, I think, early 80s in Fantasyland and just had a brain aneurysm and dropped dead.
because that's just But so if it's like 10 deaths though, even giving that they're medical.
So this
but you
has
said we
to
don't
be
get those.
attributed
You said we don't get
to
those.
I
stats.
got like the aneurysm one, but
Okay.
I didn't get like, oh, somebody was having weird heart palpitations, and then when they took him to the hospital, they died like 2 days later. Like I don't get those statistics.
Well,
Okay.
there has to still be like someone has a heart attack, and then before they can get them
Fewer
out of the
than you would
park,
think.
they do die.
But apparently, it happens.
It
But
seems like such a low number. Even
I know.
Even in the age of like hiding and secrecy and like actual verbiage, I feel still like that is like such a low number for such a wildly populated area.
Yeah, there's got to be.
I'm
there
concerned
has to be more.
at the reportings.
and again, unlike our previous story with Mark Maples, the story of Dolly Young here is one of a 48-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Dolly Young is out with, I believe, some girlfriends on a Disney trip.
It's the first generation of Disney adults, really.
This lady's out with girlfriends and is riding Matterhorn bobsleds. As you can see, at this time in 1984, the ride vehicle has remained the same, but they've added another car to the back of it.
Oh, it was single before, huh?
It was single.
Only 4 person per
to
trip.
get more people through
No,
the ride.
What? Do we have to have growth?
They doubled each car's capacity, basically.
Somebody's
I mean, as
tugging on a cigarette. Saying,
As a consumer, I'm not opposed to a second car. I mean,
We
it
need
means
more
you
people.
don't have to stand in line for you've cut your line time.
Negligible.
50%.
Yeah,
As an
technically.
intelligent human being, I'd ask, why didn't you think of that in the first place?
Well,
if it
sure.
was safe, if it's safe today, why wasn't it safe enough to pull the trigger on that before?
I mean, I only have my roller coaster tycoon logic here, but the difference between 20 single cars and 10 double cars is barely negligible. Like, you still have all your time, in fact, double your time at a ride station, in essence, to check everyone's seatbelts, to get everybody in and seated, to get everybody off the platform before you let more people in. You're still dealing with those factors. I have no goddamn idea where Dolly Young was sitting. But it can only be assumed that she was sitting alone.
Okay.
Because if she was sitting with somebody, she wasn't riding this ride with any of her girlfriends. She was a single rider, with a group of randos.
Okay.
Um,
But wait, she was with her gal pals for the trip, but you're saying that there's no recollection.
I don't know, maybe one of the gal pals wanted to ride teacups, and
But-
Dolly's like,
okay.
I'm a Matterhorn lady.
But just saying that the record show that she was doing this ride by herself.
Yeah.
Her friends weren't there for her.
Her friends weren't there for her.
Okay.
Maybe her friends were in line to get on a car to after,
Okay.
but they weren't in with her. So in the bottom left here, we have a portion of Matterhorn which is known as Dolly's Dip.
That is terrible.
Not an official name, of course, but
Yeah.
You can.
No, there's not a sign. It says
It's-
population 1.
I come from the.
It's not because it's Dolly Parton's favorite part of the ride.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want to know what happened in this back weird cavern here, but I don't know. I don't want to believe the Dolly's Dip. It's something that could have happened on any part of the ride, but at the same time, if enough people say it, eventually is it true? I watched a couple ride videos of Matterhorn, and this is one of the only points of the ride that you could, in fact, get airtime. It is about halfway through the ride.
Like if you just do the bus thing where you jump on the...
Yeah, where you get a little bit of that zero-G feeling. It's not a lot, but it is one of the only places in the ride that you do it. It's only on one of the 2 tracks.
Oh, okay.
Because remember, for
these aren't
each one of
symmetrical.
these, there's another one probably going the opposite way, curling
Okay.
around the mountain just behind this concrete wall. So, as the story goes, somebody hears Dolly shout something, and they look back, and they see a 48-year-old woman falling out of the back of Matterhorn.
Okay. And not actually at this picture on the left. That's just a fun name.
That is a fun name, but if we
but-
want to...
but we don't know if this is the spot?
It visually looks the same as every other part of Matterhorn at this
Okay.
point. So, this kind of thing can happen anywhere on this ride. But if it happens on Dolly's Dip, it happens on Dolly's Dip. I mean, it is the only point where you get a little bit of zero Gs on that, especially if you're sitting, again, in the back of the roller coaster. So if something were to happen as an accident, if it's one of the points that your body would naturally go back into the left.
Okay. Yep.
So some people, she's riding. I don't know if it's somebody in the front of her, or if she had the whole back car to herself, or if there's only, a few people scattered about on this ride. I like to think that nobody was behind Dolly, because I feel like
somebody was behind Dolly.
Walt.
Look at the lower right-hand corner.
Oh, I know. We're getting to this.
Yeah.
We're getting to this. A second train was behind Dolly.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So,
What, they were running like express routes?
hey, dog, 2 trains.
Yeah, you send one, and then in 15 seconds, it's like a water slide. You send someone down,
Yeah.
but before you don't
blow
wait for
the
them to get to
whistle.
the end.
Yeah.
You just wait 15 seconds. You send the next person down. That way, they're probably not going to catch up to the person in
Let's
front.
briefly talk about block sections, because in modern roller coasters, typically ones that run multiple trains on the same track have measures in place to make sure that no 2 trains are on the same part to, not have a collision, basically. These are usually like at the end of a lift hill, there's a little bit of, like this you see here, a little bit of a brake system.
Yeah.
Sort of a deal.
To control the momentum.
And sometimes, you've been on a roller coaster and you're like, wow, why did it brake there when it didn't do it the other 3 times? Sort of a deal. And it's just because another train was not completely out of the section of track that you're coming to.
It was becoming unsafe, so the mechanism set up to control that an accident doesn't happen.
And a lot of this is computerized now. And
Yeah.
a lot of this is
It's
computerized
it's doing
here.
fast math to predict that if one train's traveling at 95 miles per hour and another train is traveling at 70 miles per hour, when do they meet?
So you can assume with these block sections, there was about a minute, possibly 45 seconds in between trains on this part of the track.
Okay.
It is.
How long ride? Like 2-minute ride?
It's about a 2-minute ride, or 2 minutes and 20 seconds, I think, on one of the tracks, and it's tough to
right,
tell
you said
if
20-ish.
Dolly's Dip is. I can't remember if it's Frontierland or Tomorrowland track.
Okay.
It really does, but doesn't matter. Yeah, it's Dolly's condition is unknown as she fell out of Matterhorn. She could have been unconscious. There's no way to know because what killed her was the train behind her hitting her.
Wow.
A gruesome scene from every police that showed up. The ride operators did not know until the train, because the people who lost Dolly went like, a woman fell off.
Okay.
As they come back to the station.
And then part
they-
two.
they were-
here
And
comes
part
the second,
two,
third.
Here comes
part
a
two,
bloody
here
car.
comes a bloody car.
Hang on. I want to see if one more car comes up bloody, and then I might do something.
I only know at least 2, and by that point they were able to at least put brakes on every section of the ride.
Jeez.
So at the very least they could close the ride, get the people.
You're
off of
stuck there, unfortunately.
Yes.
But yeah, you're not going to go run over the corpse of a woman.
it.
You're not going to traumatize 8 people.
So-
Another 8 people.
Yeah.
So again, like with Mark Maples, we have a very similar incident of somebody.
Oh, she was
In
drunk.
some way.
She was. Are you talking about like smear campaigns against her?
Unfortunately, there's not much of a smear campaign against Dolly Young from the Disney side. They had kind of learned over these multiple incidents that have happened to kind of stay out, pay the people, non-disclosure agreement, and
We don't have to say anything.
Move
Our
the
mo-
lawyers quickly with a large check and an NDA agreement.
What differs
hit
from
'em
the,
early.
really though from the Mark Maples case is that by the time the car that Dolly was in came back to the station, Dolly's seatbelt is unbuckled.
Oh.
It is unknown whether accidentally, intentionally, Dolly unbuckled the seatbelt. It has a mechanism in there that it does not allow the seatbelt to be unbuckled.
That's my first thought. Yeah.
There's a lock.
There's a lock that only gets really unlocked when you're at the station platform.
Yeah, some station magic. They push a pedal and then now it can unlock, right?
Yeah, well, it's more of like a mechanical thing that's just.
He has to do the Fonzie thing. He has to smack it just.
Oh
right, and
yeah.
you guys go, "Hey,
Um.
it's a Connie thing."
So you have a larger investigation going on.
because that's suspicious. How does this seatbelt become unlocked in a situation? And this is an era where
30-year-old ride.
30-year-old ride.
Dolly's a mother. She has a family. She has a husband.
No.
Technically, if Mark Maples had lived, Dolly's about 10 years older than Mark would have been.
Wow.
So Dolly would have read about the Mark Maples thing,
Yeah.
especially being from Fremont, sort of a
Yes.
deal. Which I believe her family lawyers up They're getting ready to present this, because this could be on Disney's hands because it could be a mechanical failure.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things purported, again, because you have a pissed off husband, he's saying that probably the ride attendants didn't check her seatbelt properly
Well,
because
they were up drinking the whole night before, and they, JFK. It's not the JFK.
Yeah,
The Secret Service were drunk. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
The ride attendant.
The ride attendants.
If your
were drunk,
ride attendants were up drinking all night the day before, and somehow giving pilots license to people that have terrible flight we end up with something where everybody's pointing fingers at, is this human error? Did a ride operator not check her seatbelt? Dolly might have thought she buckled it all the way in, but maybe it's half in, so it doesn't lock when the locking mechanism happens.
Maybe they heard the click happen, but it was something else. Was it an error of one attendant or two?
I believe there's
multiple now. So,
I believe there's multiple attendants at the station.
So I mean, here's let me run a scenario by you boys, okay?
It's not just one guy on meth running the dragon wheel.
You know what? This isn't the '60s anymore, so obviously they've upgraded. But if you have two attendants buckling people in, you push yours down and you hear a click from the other car at the same time, and it just registers with you because it's a timing thing. It timed perfectly with yours, but yours didn't go in. So.
I mean, that's why the best methed up Charlies make you tug on the seatbelt to prove.
Oh yeah, because he has to have that evidence. He has to know for himself. He's not in the zone.
He doesn't
to be
have
cruising.
lawyers.
He's not cruising.
Yeah.
That guy is on edge at all times. So he knows one fuck up, I'm back.
Yeah, I guess I'd rather have my Carney be on meth.
Yeah.
A little bit more effective.
They're meticulous.
Drug,
Well, yeah, it's a pretty focused drug. Sure, they've been up for 72 hours, but they're still as focused as if they've been up for 2.
They basically, the Young family and their team of lawyers were all set to take this to court.
Yeah. They bought a new
Everything.
suit. Everything.
Nobody got better lawyers than Disney, though.
No.
That's the thing.
Except maybe the government.
I believe it was within a few months of actually going to court that then things kind of got, Disney didn't even want anything to kind of this to kind of come out and seem like their writer.
The best thing your lawyer's ever going to do is add a couple zeros onto that check, maybe. You're not having your day in court with Disney.
And what
That's
really
so crazy.
blows my mind is the Maples family, Young family, everybody's kept to that non-disclosure agreement.
Really?
You have, of course, people on early 2000s message boards being like,
yeah,
my cousin's friend is part of the Young family, and
I'm
the
Steve
dad.
Maples.
Yeah. You have instances of that, but as far as anyone can tell, the family stuck to the non-disclosure agreement, so we don't exactly know how many zeros were on the edge of that check.
Shit.
Nor do we know any of the things that they would have brought as prosecutors or anything like that.
Really? Not even that.
We don't learn about how they were going to tackle the case, anything of that measure, really.
That is
I think
good lawyering.
One thing that Disney does that's pretty smart is I imagine that the zeros are plentiful on that check.
Oh, yeah. Enough to bury it.
Because you don't insult the people to want to get their day in court.
Yeah.
Out of the deal.
That is incredible. Yeah, I mean, my imagination for Disney tightness, the amount of money they're willing to throw at things, I feel like is boundless. It is an infinity number. It is more money they would be willing to throw at keep maintaining the Disney image than I could even fathom. So even running through this as you've been presenting, I'm thinking yeah, nowadays you don't even hear anything about Disney. The biggest flack they've gotten is we're opening it up. We're opening it up now that COVID is and that's the biggest hit they've taken. Everything else has been so I imagine they have I bet every ride has a huge medic security team just ready to pounce on something. Lights go dark, everyone pounces, grabs whatever it is. It's I have my wildest fascination. There's maybe
3 years,
drones flying above everywhere.
Here's the thing. Disneyland security, again, like we mentioned,
Ex-Mossad has to be.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, you've seen the Banksy movie, right? When they talk about putting the Guantanamo Bay prisoner in Disneyland, and they were on him like that.
Well, yeah. We have not gotten to modern Disney quite yet, but Regina Young is the reason we have cameras in every single ride now. Because I assume whatever they were going to bring to that court case, is just sort of factual here's how you could have stopped the ride. Here's what safety measures you could have taken. You could have had surveillance. You know, you already had an incident like this. You could have stopped the ride if you knew. How do you not know you're fucking Disney?
Yeah.
Lasers.
How do they work?
So well, no, just you have something under some sub-track that can tell when something has fallen there, and then that shuts down your ride while you send inspectors. Like that's how a lot of modern roller coasters work, and that technology existed in the 80s.
Yes, it's the real aftermath of all this. You know,
Love this font.
You get. I mean, you mentioned, like, have you ever seen anybody hurt at Disneyland? I saw a girl scuff her knee outside of Space Mountain one time, and I shit you not, out of, like, 2 doors that you don't even realize are, like, doors, like, about 8 people came out. Somebody with, like, a Band-Aid.
They're carrying, like, the old World War II stretchers, too. They're like, hop, 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 hop.
And then there's, like, a bunch of
dwarves.
people who are in, like, well-to-do, you know, Disney name tag. They're not, like, plain clothes,
right.
but, you know, well-to-do people kind of stand around.
Business cash.
And kind of, you know, block the scene of this crying
They're
child
better
who
than the
has
police.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know.
Nothing goes unnoticed.
I don't know if we'll ever go into have a moment for Taylor's story that you've told me about the Disney Disney birthday.
But that's the thing. We don't have a Disney birthday if we don't have a Dolly Young.
Yeah.
Because
oh wow, are we gonna tie those strings together?
That's basically the strings I'm trying to tie together. The aftermath of this is Disney went overboard in the sense of, well, shit, we need to know everything about everybody who's coming into our park, basically, at the very least, because we need to vet people. Mind you, we had a murder at Disneyland in 1981.
Sorry, what? Why did we skip to two Matterhorns? If we're
talking about the victims of this one bad mountain.
You're right.
Yeah, we're talking about nobody's favorite roller coaster and the people it killed.
We're talking about Make Out Point.
Yeah, we're good old butt fuck point. So, yeah. This basically caused an entire, like, anytime they're renovating an area ride, you know, definitely you start hearing reports of, like, well, you know, now you're getting, like, well, back in 88, 89, like, I was making out with my girlfriend and getting a handy on Haunted Mansion, and they stopped the ride and told us to stop.
Okay.
You know, and you don't have that, you know, pre-Dolly Young. You don't have, Taylor, your birthday experience. Not even your birthday, but
it was not. Went to Disneyland in 2015 with my ex-girlfriend, bit of a Disney adult, and so, you know, when we get to the park on the first day, like her birthday was like day 3 of this 5-day trip.
5 straight days of Disney?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a whole lot of walking.
Yeah. A whole lot of walking in the 90-degree October heat.
Anaheim sucks.
Fuck Anaheim, dude. But anyway, besides that, so like day 1, we hit up the post office at the main street. So like
there's a post office in Disneyland.
Well, that's like
there's
the
a
customer
bank where you
service.
can buy yeah.
It's
Disney
like,
bucks, mouse dollars.
So it's Main Street USA.
Right.
So the post office is effectively your customer service desk.
Oh, it's not a real post office?
No.
You can't mail a parcel?
You might be able to actually
I think
send
there is a
postcard
mailbox
from
there,
there.
yeah.
Okay.
And or if you buy like a ridiculous piece of shit lightsaber, you can mail it to yourself home from there.
That makes sense.
But
don't wait to throw shade at the lightsaber industry in Disneyland.
They don't allow you to carry it around.
Yeah.
What?
You spend what, $250, $300?
Yeah.
To
you
build the
can't
piece
walk
of shit.
around with it?
You can walk around with the hilt, but they will take that blade and be like, you can go pick this up at the post
Blade
office.
heavy quotation
You get to go
marks.
you spend $250 on your goddamn lightsaber, and then you spend another like probably $250 on the stupid class where you get to do a
lightsaber training.
kata.
Oh,
with
yeah.
with
you
a dude
you
in a
could hear
robe.
voices in the room. It's the Enchanted Tiki room, but you get a sword.
No.
I love it.
That
I will never do it, but I get it.
Regardless,
You
we're
like that
in the
exists.
post office.
No.
And my ex-girlfriend, she like lets them know, like, hey, it's my birthday on Wednesday, October 12th. And so like, oh yeah,
Is that a
great,
real date?
awesome. That is, yeah, her.
As
her
somebody's...
birthday. Yeah, someone
That checks
enters
out.
They're
the
doxing her right
information.
now.
And then basically, I completely forget about it. like the experience in general because it's like, yeah, fucking Disney, woo! I'm gonna hit up the Indiana Jones ride. That's
Coming
what
from
I
like an
remember as a
era
kid.
of Red Robin singing to you was like, wow, what a fucking honor! I cannot believe they remembered
What
when
a
we told them at the
Disney-esque
beginning
I
of
would
this
say, yeah, I had
experience.
to tell you. But so, like, then 2 days go by, boom, birthday hits. Like, as we walk in the park, happy birthday hands her, like, a badge. Like
we're
a pin.
talking the first Disney employee you see.
Yeah, at the gate.
We're talking person at the gate. Oh, happy birthday, Zach.
And here's
a
button
pin.
to wear. Like, hey, it's my birthday.
You don't need to wear the button.
No.
They know. You could put that button in your little back pocket.
I hope
and they would
everyone
know.
listening to this understands the fear of
Yeah.
this.
Oh,
for
yeah,
me.
no.
Like, this is insane.
And we weren't even
Because you haven't
But you
said,
won't have any-
ha ha ha, thank you, girlfriend. I know it's such a great birthday for you. You told them 2 days earlier, but
Yeah.
you have left. You've come back again.
Yeah.
You've left, and you've come back again.
Yes.
And now they're like security cameras are like, beep, 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 beep,
Got 'em.
enhance.
Facial
That's
image.
her. It's her birthday. Get her the fucking pin. Down. Alpha team, go.
Any store, any ride you go on, the person, any employee, the guy sweeping up the sawdust kids puke that had just secured. Oh, happy birthday!
Yep.
He says through his wiry
So
mustache.
Yeah.
we get all of that, but what truly rocked my tits off was we didn't even stay in Disneyland proper all that long. I think we just went in to get the button and then bounced out to hit up California Adventure.
Because you're thinking like, oh, sweet, that's as good as it gets, right? They remembered. We had a
Well,
button.
I'm
Fantastic.
a neophyte to this experience. I don't know.
Right,
Maybe she was aware of all the things that would happen. But so, like, we aren't even in Disneyland proper. We bounce all the way over to, like, California Adventure. And then within being at CA for abbreviated, for like 5 minutes, it's like in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time when the messenger just comes up. As long as you're in Hyrule Field, it doesn't matter where you are, the messenger just shows up with a package for you.
A man has a package for you.
A courier.
You are in a different park.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, I personally consider both of them to just kind of be a left and right lung of one park in a way.
Oh, well, totally.
But-
How big is the entrance to each other?
But not only like you're unintentionally trying to blend in as a tourist.
It's a couple
You are being
1,000
like, my
yards between
birthday.
the
I'm wearing my
entrance."
birthday pin.
Yeah.
Like somebody will run up to you,
Mhm.
hand you a little package, and it'll be like what, like a $5 thing from.
I can't
like
even
a
remember
pin.
what it was.
It's something small.
But it's a birthday gift from Disney.
It's a piece of Walt Disney's skin.
And so that the rest of the day, like
Meet me under Pirates of the Caribbean.
meet me under that restaurant, the New Orleans themed restaurant. There's a
I
back tunnel.
hunger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, so it's just like, and so that just got my mind racing about the whole thing. And still to this day, even like
Oh, yeah.
ponder it, like there has to be like a network of
absolutely.
couriers who have like a list of like 5 to 6 people of like, hey, if you see this person, like, or we've seen them moving through this entrance or
Yeah.
through this feature, and so like, hey, Bill, it's your time to go. Get out there and get them their gift.
Yeah. That's why I assume like they have to have, and that's got to be a set of teams. I mean, the amount of traffic that comes in,
Oh, yeah.
they have to have, each district has its team of couriers, walking around Disney name tag people, and then earpieced all up, right? Earpieced to all hell. And then you have your sections of security teams that are like looking at this person, watching where you're going. They know so much about you that you don't understand because they're watching you from the third person perspective and all your decisions to like, should I go to the bathroom? No. Look at the bathroom again. Oh, I don't know. It's psychotic, right? They have to have these huge security teams in this huge like NASA mission control center with everything big screened like it's a NFL game, dude. It's got to be insane. It's psychotic. This is a whole industry of making sure that experience occurs.
Just to make sure you have a $5 item for your happy birthday. I mean, on top of being a normal security system, because plainclothes people that look like tourists who are Disney security is a wild thing to watch.
Secret shoppers.
Because I'm in California Adventure. I'm in their little like Hollywood area. And I'm just walking along, I'm not doing anything exciting. And I look over and there's this like teenage kid with pupils the size of his eyes. And I know that look. Somebody's getting wet. Somebody's doing a little bit of the LSD.
Once again, Ryan has a fundamental misunderstanding.
I do.
Of the
I
term
just like to
getting
call
wet.
it. Yeah, no.
I like
Maybe
it a
they
lot
were on
better.
Angel Just too. I
They
don't
could be
know.
on PCP.
But regardless, I see this person and I go like, whoa, this person made it so long being high at Disneyland. And as immediately as I see this, like, two men in flannel shirts and like cargo shorts just kind of like put their arms around the guy, and he just kind of goes off into a door in between like two shops.
I love the idea of secret doors.
It was such like
that are
a
in plain
fucking, it was
sight,
a
too.
Truman Show moment
I
where I was
know,
like, oh my god, I think they killed the guy.
Here's the thing, and I wanted to save this to the end, but I want to propose that the three boys go to Disneyland, because I haven't been since I was like 6 years old, and I would love to see, like, it's like kind of going back to your hometown after the war or something like that. You know, it's like I'd love to see this place again as an adult going through, like, I want to go see like the Toy Story ride. Is there a Toy Story ride?
No.
No, that was Pixar. That is Disney though. Okay,
That is Disney, but no, there's like toy. You can meet Woody and Buzz walking around the park, but
that's the actual.
they don't have a
looking for.
dedicated ride.
There's a Slinky coaster.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that in California Adventure?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You gotta wait a really long time.
Who was the
though.
voice of Slinky?
Jim Barney.
That's it. Yeah,
Ernest.
Ernest.
Yeah.
Ernest goes to
The importance of being earnest.
Yes, the importance of being
Ernest becomes a roller coaster. But I wasn't asked to leave. But then Ryan did bring up a good point, because I was in a line, and when you are in a line in Disneyland, you're not
you're
a person
dead.
anymore.
No, that's the
You're
thing.
dead. You're cattle.
I could go into a line,
Yeah.
kill a man, and that'd be the only time they would interrupt a line to take a person out of it.
Right. There we've had that a big
Doesn't
long
matter.
conversation about the line psychology
You're
of
just
Disney.
sunk a cost at that point
It
for
is-
the business.
You are basically the most profitable thing by being in a line, because you are taking space away that somebody else could be buying a hot dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a weird
Or in a gift
we-
shop, yeah.
or in a gift shop. It's a weird backwards concept. Also,
isn't it?
yeah.
And the rewards you're getting are so slim. A 2-minute ride for waiting an hour and a half to get into it.
oh yeah.
You've just been herded into this area that now all the traffic, all the foot traffic is so free to everybody who isn't doing
And
that.
Bill the birthday present carrier isn't gonna sneak up halfway through the line in Indiana Jones to give you your thing.
It's your birthday.
If we got in a line, I wouldn't have never seen the courier.
That's how you become
until
invisible.
we got off the ride.
It's like a
Yes.
secret power. That's how you become invisible at Disney. Is just
and
to
that
go
was
into...
like those things I would have even understood as well. It was the fact that we were like walking around somewhat aimlessly at that
Yeah.
point that the courier found us that really like it impressed me, because it's not like they catch you on the walk to the castle where then Disneyland.
If you
spider
were a
legs out,
kid,
so it's different.
there's a good chance he would have gotten a costume, or if
Sure.
Sarah was a kid, he
Yeah.
would have got it like,
Yeah.
it's Lilo and Stitch bringing me a birthday present.
Yeah. Yeah.
Out
They
of
figured out
nowhere.
who her favorite character was or something like that.
Well,
Pick out your birthday button.
They can probably have you fill that out when you're filling out the like, hey, it's
Totally.
my birthday on this day form.
Still, even to
My favorite
announce
character is Walt Disney's head.
Bring it to me.
So even to announce this and be like upfront about it, to say like even to add a Red Robin to say like that it's your birthday and they sing to you. It's an expectation, right? A very low expectation. I would, even knowing this story, I would be so surprised to have such a high what am I trying? What's the word I'm trying to cut out? Such a high tier of just celebrating a birthday for someone for free. I mean, you came into the park, you paid your ticket to get in the
Nothing's free at Disneyland.
park, right? But that even telling them and expecting something like, oh, they're gonna do something for me. That is still how.
Yeah.
It's not like a video game where you have to hit these hotspots and trigger these little things.
Or-
and they
it-
lead you to it. They
it's
say,
the
like,
first time
hey,
I've been in
it's
this
your
area.
birthday?
Like,
Go
there's-
to the gift shop
there's
for
so
a
many-
special surprise.
So many ways that it could have been explainable to me of like,
Right.
oh, that's how they did it. I was trying to unveil how the magician does the
Right.
trick.
You
And
were-
even when you know how what's happening behind the trick, it doesn't get old. Like if
No.
you ever end up going to
Yeah.
Disneyland and see it happen to
Oh,
someone
yeah.
else,
I still don't
It's like,
have.
where do these
you would
guys
put
come
your hands
from?
on your hips and you say, "You son of a
bet.
bitch! How'd
Well,
you do it again?"
And like what I've come to is just like a presumption, like the most
Yeah.
logical explanation of the phenomenon I saw occur that day in California Adventure. I'm not 100%. I can't be 100% sure that that's actually what happened.
Right. It could honestly be that there was someone that missed right as she walked in, right as you guys walked in and missed it.
Yeah.
And there was just somebody following you guys for so long, but they couldn't.
Well, no,
track
that
down where
it
you were
was.
going.
They came from within the park to us as like
Right,
we
I
were,
remember that
yeah.
part of the story. So that adds to our
Like, there's so many
high
ways that it would have been so
conspiracy.
much easier to explain. Like, getting off a ride would be the easiest point to get somebody.
Did you also get to experience a princess birthday?
Yes,
Oh,
I did on that.
Yeah.
I just
those are
recently saw
dope.
someone's Instagram story about a princess birthday, and I thought,
I got to hang
you're
out
35.
with. I was 13. I got to hang out with Ariel. It was good.
I was 26 years
It wasn't
old.
my birthday,
Jesus
so I
Christ.
got to hang out with the princesses and eat pancakes.
Oh, wait, no, I was 20. Yeah, I was 26 years old at the time.
Man, that feels. I mean, I feel like that's still in a good range, but if you're like 35 to 55, nah.
At a certain
You have
point,
to have a child.
at
You have to have a child to be a Disney person.
I don't know. At a certain point, it's like, oh, Obachan's at Disneyland at 55.
Yeah. That's how I got to Disneyland. Was Obachan took me to fucking Disneyland. It was great.
My Obachan hasn't been to Disney since
Stop
the 70s.
saying Obachan. It confuses me so much.
My Scottish Obachan.
Oh man. So we get things like that after death. Death brings the roses, does it not?
Well, it's just another way to like build the experience of
Right.
Disneyland to justify the outrageous price tag that comes with the experience.
Very much, and it's a good national security thing where it like
Yeah,
it
there would
gives
never
you
be
good
another
reason.
terrorism attack if we had Disney running the
Here's the weird
NSA.
thing.
Absolutely, dude.
I had gone to Disneyland sometime in 2002, possibly early 3, and that
But it was definitely post,
it was post those two Matterhorns coming down, those two towers of terror. If you catch my drift.
The two Guardians of the Galaxy. You know?
Yeah. Only time at Disneyland, and it's been a staple since bag check, metal detector,
Oh yeah.
and that's
Well, that's kind of standard now. I mean, for honestly, everything.
it's something that at least I would think with all this surveillance technology and everything in place in your 90s, I'm a little bit surprised it didn't happen because you did have gang-related shootings in the Disneyland parking lot.
Yeah, well, you are right next to Irvine, California.
Yeah. Bad. Anaheim sucks.
Yeah.
But I think it did take happiest place on earth. When did they coin that?
Probably
day one.
Day 0.
You think so? You think that's an OG term?
That had to be part of like,
Not an
the
evolution
pre-opening.
of the-
That's a selling
advertising,
point.
yeah.
That's how you get Frito-Lay's to open up a weird racist Mexican restaurant and you get to have a hot tuna sandwich on a fucking ship.
But I mean, I feel like that's Babe Ruth calling the shot. That's a high standard to live up to for eternity.
Motherfucker,
Oh my
we saw the
God.
comment say faster than ever, like on the thing.
Very true.
And it's like, how fast can you make this?
That is part of the game. You gotta elaborate a little bit. You gotta tell some fisherman stories on your ride.
So you get this huge security update, and it seems to be good for protecting the shield of Disney, and to also giving an experience. So there is some sort of a
There's a double-edged sword there. I mean, and mind you, it didn't stop ride accidents from happening from mostly mechanical failure, and again, some are put onto the people, but again, a lot of these are settled out of courts, so we only hear that somebody's kids were injured and partially traumatized, I think on Splash Mountain like 2 days ago.
Unless Eisner
Yeah.
decides to write a tell-all, we'll probably won't ever know about it.
well, which is very interesting. I don't know. I don't know. It's a very interesting thing that there's so much mystery to such a currently public huge thing. Like I know that TikTok has a lot of former stars, not stars like in the TV sense, but actors at Disney or characters.
Oh yeah,
they have like tell about secrets and stuff like that, or things that they hate about the people that come through Disney, or like when to see that a Disney character is blah blah blah, or like about to pass out because being Tigger like is the worst thing like that. So it's weird that there's still, even with seeing some of those, it's still all kind of hearsay, and you're still. But Disney is such a interesting brand that is lasted so long, and we still know nothing. We know so much about concussions in NFL, and I feel like NFL has such a good lawyer team. We have so many answers to a lot of mysterious things in the world, but Disney still, it's like nothing bad happens at Disney. Huh?
It's basically the Vatican in America. We have two of them.
Absolutely, yeah.
And like it's its own fucking, and oh my god, literally like that's how Disney World had operated for quite some time up until so recently with political pissing matches between the mouse and the state of Florida.
Really?
It basically was the Vatican, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Disney World.
They were getting preferential things from.
They basically like their
Florida.
tax dollars, since they were basically like their own kind of county at that point.
Right.
Like
they took up a lot of real estate.
They got huge tax breaks from the state to basically fund all of the services in and around Disney World, and like basically could not necessarily set their own laws, but basically could like govern themselves within their area.
I never thought of it like the Vatican,
But yeah,
work.
they're like the Vatican within America. We have one in Anaheim and the other one in Orlando.
And while there are some Disney-fied neighborhoods that you could buy a house at and live
I've heard
at
about this.
down in Florida around Epcot, it's not the original idea for Epcot, which was a fully functioning, basically city in a
Neighborhood
dome.
of tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a neighborhood of tomorrow. It's a city in a dome without a dome. Oh, you live in this cutesy little house.
Did they just settle for the dome in the Epcot Center then?
No, I think somebody decided Epcot should be. What if we made the UN fun? and it kind of worked.
Effective.
Yeah, what effective. And we also have a sweet like ride that's now a frozen ride. It's basically Splash Mountain, but you're on a Viking boat.
Yeah.
It's pretty dope.
The magic of going to Disneyland and like seeing all these interesting little things that were catered towards the era, that magic has kind of washed away watching old rides just like stop being themselves, and then like now you have a Frozen ride, and now you have these new rides that are just recycled parts of the park that are now new things.
That's kind of part of the whole deal. I mean, I brought up Bob Gurr creating almost everything in Disney, but by today, 2022,
Yeah.
everything he's touched it's your ship of Theses argument, where everything he's touched has been refurbished, replaced, renewed. They'll add Frozen to it, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, original Disney is not what it was, and I believe it's a safer place, but ultimately a scarier place for me.
Much more dystopic.
Yeah.
With a great veneer.
I say the term controlled a lot because I think it is very much traceable to all aspects of it. Everything can come down to...
There's an element of control in every aspect.
There's a lot of...
what you can see, what you smell,
Yeah.
what you can do, where you're supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
Disney's great at like just sort of the geometry of how they build the park, of like when you're in Frontierland you don't see any other like aspect of Disney.
The forced perspectives, the way that the castle looks so far away or it looks so close. I forget which it is because I've been there once, but it feels like the roads are so much wider,
Yeah,
the
and you
park
have
is so
so
much
much-
bigger, but it's a forced perspective.
I mean, there are trees specifically to block the view of the Matterhorn in between rides.
Yeah.
Just so you don't have to see it when you're in your future world, even though it's like right fucking there.
So Disney is just the mouse maze, right?
We call it a rat trap.
That's it.
The rat trap. But yeah, it's very interesting to see also like the culture that pops up amongst like Disney adults, because at some point, and maybe this was like Dolly sort of culture, like you have like, I don't think it was a day one thing with Disney, but you have like the season pass.
Yeah.
The advent of where like people who love Disney so much can like sort of visit as often as they want for paying like one exorbitant rate.
And one thing that barely gets brought up, the ticket system. Disney used to have a ticket system. Rides weren't free, in quotes. You had to buy a book of tickets on Main Street USA, and I believe they were still around in Mark Maples' era. Where like Matterhorn, you had 2 tickets.
It's a
and
2-ticket ride, yeah.
you could ride the Matterhorn, or you could, I don't know, go fuck off into Walt Disney's child sex dungeon. I don't know.
That's a half ticket. He's trying to get a lot of people.
Oh, apologies. It's called Jungle Cruise. And that's the thing. Theme parks go through high and low points. Disney's no exception to this. It has its Renaissance years. It has its years where they're kind of struggling to stay relevant and have a niche in the park. And it's something where me, a cynical person, goes like, how many more years do we think Disney has left? Does it make it to 100? To 2055?
Disneyland or just Disney the company?
Disneyland. The company lives, but
absolutely.
Easy.
Absolutely, yeah.
My answer to why that would happen is Disneyland and its popularity has always been controlled by like what media of theirs popped off, and then what you could build an attraction around based off of it popping off, and now they own all the media.
Yeah,
so
slowly but surely.
Yeah,
Looking at you, Warner Brothers.
You get to
it's gonna
so
happen.
now you get to do the vertical integration thing of like, well, we want to make an attraction out of this, so this is the media that we'll pump out.
Well, lo and behold, I found out today that starting production last year is a Disney Plus movie based on the Matterhorn.
Really?
They're finally getting around to do.
Is it a documentary or a movie?
I think it's a fictional movie.
Oh.
About like a brave group of climbers climbing that mountain in the Alps?
No, I think it's about some gentleman that went to Switzerland with 2 cans of chili and saw a beautiful mountain.
We're doing it.
I think it's about a time traveling Donald Glover and
Yeah.
Chris Farley in a jean
And
jacket
the greatest
shooting
game
hoops.
of basketball you have ever seen.
Half court. Sudden death half court.
Half Court at the Matterhorn. That's the name of the movie. That's a good title of a movie.
Any of you boys have any final thoughts? I mean,
Oh
we've
man,
been
I
kind
have so many thoughts on Disney, but
we're stewing. We can save them. I don't know.
this is
This ends up being good.
this has been a fun one. I
Yeah.
really like learning. You took a lot of pictures, man. I gotta up my picture game.
Yeah. Thank you, boyos. I'm gonna give you both your birthday badges
All right.
Yeah.
and a nice little.
You'll find me on the drive home to give me a package.
Oh, you bet.
Nice.
I'm
I'll be
unfortunately
waiting
a line
for ya.
person, so I don't matter.
But yeah, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you, boyos, for joining me in this.
Thank you for presenting.
I don't know how we sign
I
out
don't
on
know how to
this.
sign off on
Are we
this.
just gonna have like a Microsoft Sam say the name of the show?
Yep. Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
Just a
Yeah,
badly
that's it.
edited in.
Yeah, whatever it may be.
All right.
Next up is my turn.
Can't wait.
I can't wait either.
I'm Ryan.
Oh, I'm Zach.
I'm J-Rob.